Okay, so we're joined here today by Beatrice Flowers once again. We want to continue a conversation we were having a few weeks ago, because there's quite a few things we didn't get to that were kind of on an itinerary and things that popped up in conversation, so we thought we'd connect once again and go over those things. But first of all, let me just ask you a question for you. You were talking about your podcast there, so what's your podcast going to be about?
Oh, I set up a YouTube channel, but I'm wondering whether it's even worthwhile now because of the new laws that have come in. I'm not even sure whether it's going to be worthwhile or whether I'll be able to get away with it. But it's the Tribal Belly Dance podcast, a Tribal 101. It's all going to be original material, but then that doesn't really matter because I think they're just going to block all of us.
So let's cycle back to why we're saying that. So we're talking about Article 13 of the European copyright, isn't it? Is that what it's called?
Article 13, yeah. There's Article 11 and Article 13, and I think it's 13 that's the big problem.
So let's bring
I think a lot of people agree essentially in the idea of protecting people's rights, obviously, but it's just gone way too far and to the point. I don't think that YouTube should be responsible for. I think that it was fine before the way that they did it, but they shouldn't make them liable for.
I've got this up on
choices.
Right, I've got this up on screen now about Article 11 and 13, so people out at home can actually see this. So let's just make this full screen so people can read it as well. So this is an article by Gizmondo, who are like a European tech company. So we regret to inform you that the internet is on red alert. On Wednesday, the EU's Legislative Committee voted to adopt sweeping measures that will upend the internet in every entire way, from memes to Wikipedia to art to privacy to the creative side of fandom, all at risk of being kneecapped and destroyed outright. By the time Americans woke up on Wednesday, the Legislative Committee had already voted on the Copyright Directive, which is the major update of European copyright law since 2001. Article 11 and Article 13 are the most disastrous, according to the foremost tech experts in the world. Explaining what's wrong with these 2 points of legislation in detail is difficult, but however, we'll summarise. Okay, we'll go with that. Reconfigure websites' responsibility to enact copyright. The so-called e-commerce directive has given online platforms broad protection to be subject to copyright penalties, because they act as a conduit to user uploads, which is very similar to a law in the US that exempted YouTube from penalties as long as you're making the best effort to take down infringing material when it's reported. Let's get
Essentially, it's just protects copyright, but instead of it being, instead of YouTube being responsible, and instead of us being responsible for the copyright, and then the owner of the material deciding whether they're okay with it or not. Like, I think they had some deals with possibly some record labels before, which works fine. If a copyright infringement was found, then you would be warned. If you get a 3 strike, I had a few, but I never got taken down because there was a large space of time in between each one. But this time it will be that you'll just be taken down straight away, and it's not worth YouTube's time to bother. It's not possible for them actually to go through all these videos.
No, because I think what it is that 12 years of video content uploaded every single day to YouTube, which is an insane amount of content. And I guess they would have, and they already put the moderation in the hands of the community. There's these community leaders, as they're called. They are YouTube, what would you call them? Like admins, effectively, of page types. A bit like how it works on Reddit and so on. Moderators, and they would decide on what content stays and goes up and down. However, a lot of these people are very leaning in a certain way, so there's a direct correlation there between what kind of content is taken off YouTube at the current time, and that's also an issue in itself. But I mean, I guess the algorithm, I don't know how you would write it to take down anything that's owned by somebody else. I mean, you'd also have to tell YouTube that you own the content in the first place. I guess for the music companies, they've done that over the course of the last few years, and movies and so on. I guess they upload the audio base level, and if there's if there's a match.
With film, you can flip it around and slow the pace, or make it small.
Yeah.
There's lots of ways of getting around it, which means people do that. Like, people upload, you know, I'm guilty of watching them as well, but people upload but some of the stuff that I watch is really, really old, and, you know, it's not, you know, I possibly have it on DVD as well, but
I was watching a Lower Low the other day.
It doesn't make it legal. But the problem is that it's, let's take, for example, dancers. We don't write our own music.
No, because you're a dancer, not a musician.
We don't want to dance to some rubbish, like, free music that we don't generally listen to otherwise, just because we can't dance to anything else. You know, the music that we dance to is music that we like.
Sure.
And some of it is made by people we know, and they will give us permission to use it. Like, there's a few artists that are in the belly dance community that are always happy for us to use their music, but YouTube's not going to know that.
No, but actually then it's the responsibility of the original owner of that music to tell YouTube, this is mine, and for people to use it, and it's under, like, Creative Freedom 3.
I think that maybe, but then the problem is if you might have one thing in your video that you've got permission for,
yes,
but then something else that you haven't. And you were saying earlier about the fact that you can't even certain phrases and things might be copyright.
Certain phrases are so it's interesting when you talk about, say, quoting a movie, or just going,
sorry, Shakespeare's okay, it's in the public domain.
Shakespeare's fine.
But yeah, quoting a movie.
Yeah, that could be wrong. And that they've brought in what's called a link tax, or a snippet tax. It's designed to mitigate the publishers over Google and Facebook that have amassed in the last decade. So the thing is now, people will post a link through Google or through Facebook, and then the idea is that you're using their algorithm to look at it, whatever, instead of actually going to the original website. So what they want to do now is that if you're using a platform, you have to be monetized, or they have to pay a tax based on the fact that you clicked on a link through their service. Yeah, so if you click on a link in Facebook, Facebook may have to pay, you know, the original owner of that article a percentage of money, but what that is not quite worked out yet. So they want to put a license on the internet. I mean, they were talking about this about 10 years ago. I read an interesting article that was actually published by the MOD, oddly enough. Did a video on that on my YouTube channel, and in there it was talking about how the internet is likely to change over the next 10 to 15 years. Now, that was in there that essentially you would have what's called licensed streams. So you would have internet actually coming at different speeds for different people, almost like how cable TV works. You know, you'd pay for your entertainment package or your sports package or your movies or whatever, and that would be a broad aspect of what internet access you have. So if you pay for a family package, you might only be able to get onto Disney and Nickelodeon or whatever. You can't access the rest of the internet at all, and that was one aspect they were looking at doing.
The internet was supposed to be free and not controlled, and this is all wrong. I appreciate that artists want their rights protected, but this is not the way to do it. And also it prevents a lot of art is created in reusing other art. You know, like recreating. You know, there's lots of movie reviewers on YouTube and people that are news reporters that aren't from the Guardian, aren't from like the New York Times, and they review things or have a news channel, but they're not like recognized as an official source. No. So they're basically being silenced, because it would mean that they're not allowed to. I mean, people in other countries were not allowed to show footage of some combat in another country because it's taken from a news channel or something. Yeah. This is just silencing people and controlling us. That's just fairly obvious, and we will find a way to go underground and get around it like we always do.
There's some really interesting things we're coming up. So, like, if you look at RT, for instance, they have Rupley, which is their news agency, but they creatively commons all their video footage taken in the field. So you can use it for that very purpose. You know, as long as you context that it's Rupley who is the news producer, which is really interesting. And that's a really good way to get extremely high quality footage from out in the field to being used in your news broadcasts or whatever. A bit like how what are they called? Is it AB in the US? Associated Press. They do the kind of thing. They upload some stuff to Creative Commons license.
I just think why would everything should. Creative Commons was always the way forward, and I don't see why that had to change. I mean,
because people want.
As long as you, it's all about with respect to the artist. When you use someone else's work or post a photograph or use a photograph, as long as you can cite your sources, you know.
So imagine now, isn't it? Can you?
What are they going to do in universities when kids are needing to quote, use a photograph or quote something? Isn't that wrong as well now? Like,
yeah, that very well could be where it goes. Just like yesterday, for instance, now if you use capital letters, if you're a lecturer, you might be causing anxiety in your students, so you're not allowed to use capitalisation and grammar because you might upset somebody. I was thinking, yeah,
you're not allowed to say like. Stop talking loudly. I don't, I don't really believe in formal education anyway. It's bollocks.
I think there's certain things need to be taught correctly.
And well, I do and I don't, but I don't like the system as it.
Because I
love teachers. I'm a teacher.
Okay.
And I like the opportunity to learn, but I don't like that it's such a controlled system, and everyone's like, you can say this, you can't say this. This might offend someone. Who the hell are you to say what's going to offend someone? And to be honest, I preferred brainstorm to mind mapping. Mind mapping sounds like something that the CIA do.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. I do think there's, if I wanted someone to use a nuclear submarine, I would want the schematics to be correct and talk to the right people who were going to use it. I wouldn't want my power station breaking down because someone thought, putting the chimney up in a square shape was more efficient when it clearly isn't. So I think there is a need to have education systems in a way that makes sense.
If you want to be a scientist, I'm not saying they're not. I mean that they restrict creativity, and they tell you what's offensive and what isn't, and what's wrong with being offended.
Well, offended is
everyone's so
subjective.
afraid of being offended.
It's subjective. It's entirely subjective.
Exactly.
I've
been offended by things, but it didn't kill me. It didn't hurt me. I got over it like pretty. Well, I'm not injured. It's not an injury.
No, I think to be seeing things that actually upset you allows you to create the language context so you can express that it's difficult or you don't like it. Then you learn from it. It's like watching your parents die, for instance. It's something perhaps we're all going to face, but if we choose to hide from it, we know we're not embracing our humanity as a cycle. I mean, the way that we communicate with others is really powerful, and some people will say things we don't like, but then we learn how to have a better conversation about it.
And also we learn how to, and maybe we should be questioning why we find things offensive as well.
Yeah, why do we find certain things offensive to other things?
Wait, why am I offended by that? Is it me, or is it really offensive?
Right, because some people are being told that certain things are offensive.
And usually the things that are banned are not. I mean, they are usually a bunch of people that have nothing to do with the topic.
Of course not.
That decide these things.
Of course not. Because they want to be able to dictate that kind of power trip on it.
Old, bored busybodies around some table.
I think it's people who didn't get anywhere in life, who want to just beat the drum and go, I just stop this.
Power, so they're like, yes, get rid of Black Sheep. It's offensive.
I see. I never ever saw that as offensive. I always knew that was a black sheep, and that was completely cool that it was a black sheep.
I find it offensive to black sheep that they're no longer included.
Exactly. It's like this little piggy went to market. That's that. You can't say that anymore.
I can say whatever I like. Actually.
Yeah, because when it gets to the fifth piggy, apparently it seems too offensive. Oh man, because then you have the GDPR rules as well.
3 years old.
Oh, what? Sorry.
When you're 3 years old and your mom is saying that to you, or a baby, I guess it's like babies don't really understand the subtext of any of these things, so it's not offensive.
No, and I think
it's really offensive to a bunch of old fuddy-duddies sat around a table.
there is something really interesting in that, is that you said that about like the subtext, the subtlety. And I think certain languages, that they talk as well as in the way you talk. You talk in subtext and you talk in language in a way that's not always expressed by words. And I think when you start news speaking text, you get rid of the subtlety entirely, because it has to be legislative. It has to be this way or no way, or I do not understand. They don't seem to understand, and I kind of wonder whether that is actually more of perhaps of a mental illness over time, that they've learned they don't recognise that. So, for instance, some people who have like Asperger's, for instance, and autism, don't understand subtlety of conversation. It's just not. They're just not everyone, of course.
They can learn it, but they wouldn't like. They can learn to recognise it, but they someone with dyslexia can learn symbols.
Yeah.
Learn to recognise symbols and things, but they can learn those things and recognise them, but they would never feel them in the same way that we do.
Yeah, so it was the reason why I said that, because obviously my Sylvia, she's got Asperger's, and a few people I know at work, a few people I know at work who have autism, and their children simply do. So more children now than ever have autism, apparently.
I've been watching The Good Doctor. I don't know if it's a good representation, but I think it's quite good.
Yeah. So, and then the way you have to address them, you kind of have to make everything black and white, because they don't understand the waver in between. They'll come into a room and they won't see that things need doing other than what they're going to do. And I kind of want. So I kind of wondered whether that actually is a reflection of what they're trying to do with language, is that we need to have it this way, everyone needs to understand it this way, because the lowest denominator, I hate to use that in a derogatory term, has to understand. And I thought, is that what they're trying to do, is to make it so everyone understands, so we have to use the lowest base form of language, which is basically just black and white text. So we have to take all the language, all the nuance, all the subtlety out of it. It has to be as clinically simple as possible. And I was wondering, like, this is a very dangerous line to go down. Cause
that's very insulting to everyone, because I think that even when you think people are not as smart as you often find that they're smarter than they are, and I think that it's just not giving people credit.
Exactly.
I think people are a lot smarter than we realise, and just because mass we don't seem it.
No, I think mass people are stupid. I think when you get to a group of about 8 people is okay. Go beyond that, people start losing their shit. Man, it's going to be a really interesting time coming ahead. I think the internet has just changed the way everything and everyone does business, the way everyone talks and communicates.
And then they try to control it, but they need to. Well, I think that really, the internet is sort of an extension of our ordinary world in a way. So you can't control the way people interact in an ordinary world. If I want to show you a book, no one's going to come running up to me and go, "You can't do that. That's copyright infringement."
Not yet.
Or if I want to share with you some quotes from a film or some. Anything that's related to pop culture or some music. There's not, where's this little the copyright goblin that's going to come in and say, no, you're not allowed to share that.
Well, I think if you were to put like a phrase into so we're on Google Hangouts, right? If I was to get a quote of a book or a movie or even a title, just post it into the chat, will Google effectively censor it at your end?
That's Google. I mean, that's a copyrighted company name, surely.
Well, yeah. You don't much. So will text literally and language look like fuzzy little squares like they're doing like
I think we all need to go. We all have to just go and live in a monastery and take a vow of silence. That's the only way around it. Or we'll all be speaking in signs.
Or is that secretly? Or is that the plan? Or is that the plan? You have to be in a small restrictive environment where you can watch everything you do every moment of every day, just so you don't do this.
They've tried to do this in many ways, repeatedly, again and again and again, and reality always works itself out, because this is not realistic. It's not realistic, right? And it's not the way. It's not how we want to interact. We want to be more free, and people will want it changed, and it will change. We'll find other ways around it. And all they're doing is shooting themselves in the foot anyway, because they assume that we'll all just bow down to it and be okay with it. But we'll just set up other ways
Yeah, there's many different ways people can connect online. But I was thinking how it's very it resembles what happened in the early 2000s with Kazaa and the ability to share music online.
Yes.
Yeah, when those platforms, what was called P2P at the time, was set up, with the ability basically to have a folder on your PC that was then publicly available for everyone else to look in. And
I still use Pirate Bay.
Well, yeah, Pirate Bay is fantastic because also it's but I say that because actually a lot of people upload their content specifically to Pirate Bay.
I know. I mean, I don't think many people downloaded my music though. But I tried to share it.
But
I wanted people to steal my music.
But how cool is that? Because what you really want to do, you want to make your music available to the widest possible audience.
Exactly. It's okay for James Blunt or whoever to come out and go on about how to music protection for artists and things. But most of us don't get signed. Most of us haven't got promotion, and so it's all right for him. It's all well and good for him to say that. For the rest of us, that the music industry doesn't give a shit about. The only way that we can get our music out is by sharing it and getting people to download it for free or by donation or something. But
I was thinking
we don't have anyone backing us.
I'm thinking about an artist called Lindsay Sterling. She's a violinist.
Yeah.
So she was a girl who got rejected on America's Got Talent, and it didn't work out for her. So she actually went back to YouTube and obviously got in contact with a guy who makes videos and so on. Then she made some outstanding kind of videos with her music.
Yeah.
And she got to the point where she became more recognised because of that, had a bigger audience than mainstream artists before she got signed. She literally, she forged her own path. I mean, I can remember going to her YouTube channel and she had less than 1,000 subscribers.
All of that. If they restrict overall content, this is going to restrict the chances of that, because they're just going to restrict everything rather than trying to figure out which is legal and which is not.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's not that they're just going to stop people that are infringing copyright. They're just going to stop. They're just going to basically block Europe because it's easier than going through all the content.
Yeah, that's probably what they're going to do. You'll have the European wall of fire like they do in China.
Exactly. As soon as I heard this, the first thing that came into my head was, this is like China.
I mean, Russia have something quite similar. There's a guy I used to play with on Counter-Strike, and he was telling me how whenever you log into the internet in Russia, there's actually the first thing that loads up is a warning that you're going to be on an accessible website where everything you do is actually monitored. Will allow you to do what you want to do.
I wonder how Edward Snowden gets around that. Obviously, he.
I'm sure there are ways around it using a VPN.
I'm sure he knows how to do it. He's probably written his own program to get around it. I adore him.
So imagine if you were wearing a T-shirt. so imagine you were wearing a wrestling T-shirt or a band T-shirt, Metallica or whatever, in your profile picture.
Wearing a T-shirt now, and that's probably something.
Copyrighted to someone in George somewhere. But if you were wearing a band T-shirt in a picture or a video, will that be blocked by an algorithm? But then the algorithm also has to recognise what the symbol is, and I think computers and technology have got the ability where they can do that now. That they can recognise logos and symbols and stuff.
It's just ridiculous. Everyone needs to grow the fuck up and stop being so. Oh, I don't want anyone to pay their property. Just be glad for the promotion and shut the fuck up, because if you're already a large company that's making profit anyway, you don't need to worry. It's not affecting you. It's the rest of us that gets affected, not the big companies.
No.
Not the big music. The music. This is just this is partly music companies and movie companies. Okay, they may have lost out a bit. I'm not being funny or anything, but if I'm not going to pay to go and see a movie, I'm not going to pay to download it either. They haven't lost out on anything that I wasn't going to give them in the first place. I do pay to go see movies, and I do pay to download them.
Yeah, I think there's
to download them as well.
So,
but if I wasn't going to give it them in the first place, they haven't lost out on anything.
No, but everyone's a potential customer, and you will buy internet content somehow. So I was thinking,
not because I have no money.
I was thinking about what work.
Bought my music.
So my workplace came into my mind then, only because the job I do at work is I kind of manage inventory and stock levels and so on in my store. So I was thinking that every year when we do a stock take, there's an expected loss on every department of the store, whether that's beers or spirits, health and beauty, whatever. And it's not a small amount. You know, they're expecting to lose like 25% of the beer, 25% of the. There's an expectation they will lose a large amount of stock. And this is separate to waste and damages and what customers do, and things that don't turn up to the store. There's an expected loss. So I wonder how the business of music and movies deals with their expected loss. So when you make a movie that costs like $100 million, whatever, and you're expected to make 500 million or $1 billion at the box office, how much is that an expected loss within that? Because if, say, you take a movie like, say, Frozen, which was huge, they actually get most of their money not through the film itself, but actually by the merchandise that comes along with it.
That's like a whole merchandise thing, and they make profit from little kids.
Yes, so there's a whole licensing and merchandise.
That goes on for years and years afterwards.
Of course it does. So really, the advert, the movie is an advert for all the content, and the content is a movie for the advert.
Apparently, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think He-Man was the first thing to do that.
Yeah, He-Man was huge.
For merchandise, sort of thing. He-Man was awesome.
He-Man was awesome. On that note then, have you seen the new She-Ra?
No.
No, it came out, I think it was Monday. It's available on Netflix now.
I live in a one-horse town in Spain, and there's no cinema.
Oh dear.
And there is one in Tarragona, and they do play some in English. Yeah, they'll play it like an original soundtrack, because here in Spain, right, what's really funny in our town is the Spanish Sandra Bullock.
Okay.
The thing is, when I go to see a movie, if I go to see Patrick Stewart in a movie, Stewart, I want to hear his voice. I don't want to hear Spanish Patrick Stewart, because Spanish Patrick Stewart is not a Shakespearean actor.
I see what you mean there. I guess.
It's just weird to me that they have these actors it's even on TV, like Friends and stuff like that. I don't watch TV, but any series, what's wrong with bloody subtitles? I watch Spanish movies with English subtitles.
Same here. I love subtitles. I'd rather have subtitles than the voiceover.
Watch the original voice.
That's right. I'm just trying to wonder if I can actually show you the trailer of the She-Ra series, but I kind of wonder, is that okay?
There's also a live-action Pokemon movie coming out, by the way.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
I know it's wrong, but I'm sort of excited about it. It looks. I was a bit like, oh no, that sounds awful, but it actually looks okay for a shit idea. But...
So Sylvia's a big Pokemon fan, right? So she collects the games and does all the Pokemon Go stuff and all that. And I was just like, so the only game she hasn't bought is Detective Pikachu the game, where
Which is what this movie's based on.
It is. But in the game, it's actually voiced by a guy with a really gruff voice. He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm Pikachu," like a London guy.
And this is Ryan
Reynolds. And I was a bit like, actually, I think I'd rather to hear the guy who does the game instead, because he's got that kind of like Geralt style voice.
So Pikachu in the game has a voice.
Yes, but
I didn't know that.
But it's not the Pikachu that runs around.
I shouldn't be that freaked out by it after all.
Yeah, but it's not the Pikachu that's with Ash. It's a different Pikachu. This one's psychic or something. Yeah, he's like this detective who's got this kind of gruff, kind of like detective gravelly voice. I like having seen Sylvia. Yeah. So yeah, apparently no one else can hear. Whenever everyone else talks, they hear the words Pikachu. But he's like, damn it, no one can hear me. Don't understand what's going on. How can you understand me? Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So
that much of a Pokemon nerd. Although I've been all over the world, and guess where I found Pikachu?
Where did you find Pikachu?
On Woodborough Road in Nottingham.
Really?
Not in Singapore, not in Indonesia, not in Malaysia, not anywhere else. Woodborough Road in Nottingham, which is basically where I'm from.
Well, you found Pikachu. Pika.
And it was a Christmas Pikachu as well. It had a little hat on.
Oh, that's kind of cute. See,
my Pokemon is a Jigglypuff.
I've never got into Pokemon. I don't know what I'm missing.
The one that I carry around with me, because he sings and everyone falls asleep, so I quite like that.
I can see why you like it, because you're narcolepsy and you fall asleep all the time. But no, I guess I've admired Pokemon from a distance. I get it, but I also I instantly understood the marketing when it says you got to catch them all. You have to get 151, and there's marketing for everything. Must get everything, because you're brainwashed by its very subtitle itself in marketing.
I'm really good at doing Pokemon go nowhere. Like, there's ways around it. Like, I'd only play it when I went somewhere and then just sit down and do it.
Yeah.
But I am guilty of once in Malaysia actually walking around, and I'll be 38 next week, and this was only 4 years ago, so
it's so good. But
I was walking, but in it's probably more acceptable in Southeast Asia, because like that.
Everybody has a phone.
I was literally walking around, and I'm pretending not to play because it's just embarrassing, and I'm like this. And because it's one of those poker stops, you're thinking like, is someone going to tell that I'm trying to?
There's a Raichu in there. What do
you're just pretending that you're texting someone.
Yeah, there you go. Just
flicking
that
because
Pokeball.
You're like, someone's going to notice that I'm playing Pokemon and I'm grown up.
So on that point there, so the other people, did you see anyone else that looked like they were playing it?
I did look out for people.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only ones that were definitely children.
Can I come over and play with you kids?
No. And I'd see a little kid, and I'd notice on my game that there was someone else, and I'd be like, oh, I could tell it was them.
Uh-huh.
And I'd be like, this is really embarrassing. This is like when I was living in England, and I subscribed to the SpongeBob sticker collection magazine, and I had no one to swap my stickers with.
I can see there's a lot of times when I guess the internet, that's what everyone did at school, and everyone got the sticker books, whatever. You traded.
Well, I don't know, what did you collect?
I didn't know I was homeless, so I didn't collect that stuff.
What was those Pong? Was it Pong?
Pogs.
Those little round things?
Yeah, I remember.
Pogs,
yeah. I remember those, yeah.
I don't even know what they were for, but I had loads of them. I had the Star Wars ones.
I seem to remember the school banned them.
I've got no idea what they were for, but I had a shitload of them.
The school banned them because apparently they encouraged gambling, I seem to recall.
So kids figured out how to gamble amongst themselves with Pogs.
Yes. So apparently you could get some kind of metal Pog, I seem to recall, and you would stack them up, and then each player would bounce it off the top, and wherever they fell, which way they landed outwards, you would then take them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't ever. I just stuck them on my wall because I had Star Wars ones.
Star Wars is cool. Apart from the most recent movies, that's not cool. Did enjoy Rogue One.
Shall we talk about some narcolepsy? I said I was going to.
Yeah, we're going to talk dreams and lucid dreaming, narcolepsy.
Going on about Pokemon and
But no, it's just the characterization of who we are, what the kind of the random craziness what comes into it.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm guilty of Pokemon. I have a Pikachu onesie.
You have a Pikachu onesie. I would ask you to wear it, but
I do. That's what I wear to bed now.
Hey, does it keep you warm? Most important thing.
It does.
Good.
But I want a new one.
I have a Ghostbusters onesie.
A what?
I have a Ghostbusters onesie.
You have a Ghostbusters onesie?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
I've got the Ghostbusters Lego car.
Ooh. Maybe we could trade. No,
I want any Lego, to be fair, but I'd like to have the whole Ghostbusters,
Okay, so tell you a story, right? So when I learned that Toys R Us was closing, I went to Nottingham's Toys R Us just because. Yeah, Toys R Us is gone now.
Not existed. It doesn't exist.
No, they're all closed.
Nobody told me.
Yeah, so I went to there the week before they closed because I knew they had 4 Ghostbuster firehouses there, and I wanted to see how much they were going to mock them down to.
You kept going back.
I did, yeah. They still didn't drop anywhere less than £200.
Wow, that's so expensive.
It was
Lego's so expensive now.
It was £279, and it dropped to £240, then £199, and I was like, I can't afford £200 on Lego. I can't do that.
I gave all my Lego away when I left England, and I want it back. If anyone's got any Lego, please send it to me.
But surely the joy of Lego, I always understood, you make your own toy, as opposed to buying a preset toy.
Someone gave me the medieval one and some of the space stuff, and so I made a Lego torture theme park.
Fuck yeah, sounds cool.
It had a fully functioning what's it called where you hang gallows. It had functioning. You could wind the thing down, and a little trapdoor would. Then the little man would fall down, and then I made. I know I'm twisted. I made a little sort of electric chair out of some of the spacey looking stuff, and a rack with a little man like that, and a dipping stool with a witch on the end of it. Well, she wasn't a witch, and then there was spikes with heads on it everywhere, and
so this clearly was not. But that sounds awesome. No, that sounds really cool because that's inventive that you did yourself. That is not like you're going out and buying a Lego set and then you build it as the instructions and you leave it there. It's like a kind of make your own ornament otherwise, but to make your own stuff is exactly how it should work.
The flat red stuff for the blood.
Yeah, so make your own stuff.
Little dude in a car going around just looking really happy. He's like the park owner.
Excellent. I like it. You have to send me some pictures of that. That's cool. So, narcolepsy. Yes. Maybe I'm still a bit confused on what it is all about. So give me a heads up. So if someone who didn't know what narcolepsy is, because I'm going to pretend that I don't know, even though I sort of know. So go for it, man. So if you were to explain what narcolepsy is in, say, 5 words, what would it be?
In 5 words? That's not possible. Narcolepsy is, see, that's already 2 words. It's a neurological disorder.
We've got that.
That's characterised by no, I'm going to start again. Okay.
So,
narcolepsy is a neurological disorder where the part of the brain that controls the sleep-wake regulating system is damaged, and the brain no longer produces a certain chemical called orexin or hypocretin, and which means that your entire circadian rhythm or your sleep-wake regulating system is completely boggled, and you experience the stages of sleep all in the wrong order, and you're basically always tired, and you have paralysis and various other things. But it's not a sleep. Everyone thinks it's a sleep disorder.
It's a chemical disorder, right?
But it's not a sleep disorder. It's a neurological disorder that's characterized by sleep disorders.
Okay, I get that, sir. I think I understand the way that you phrase that around. So, how many people do you think say have it out of, say, 100 people? Is that one?
They say that two in 2,000.
Okay.
So it's actually not as rare as people think. It's very undiagnosed and misunderstood, and so on.
So how much does it affect you on a daily basis?
Enough that I have to take a lot of these. Daily basis. Well, basically, I'm always tired and have to take medication a few times a day. I'm on 3 different types of medication, and without those meds, I wouldn't be sat here talking to you, because I'd be more like this, or like I was yesterday, like this.
So what do you take? Mode of
cataplexy, which it's paralysis, which is loss of voluntary muscle tone.
Okay.
Which means that I sort of collapse. You know when you laugh, and when you laugh so hard that you start feeling all wobbly?
Yes.
I do that, but I don't get back up.
Okay. So
this is without meds anyway. So, but on a daily basis, I'm basically tired all the time, I'll go in and out of stages of tiredness, and then on a bad day, I'll experience lots of other symptoms as well. But I can't have a normal job. I can't drive a car. Some narcoleptics have normal jobs, but I don't.
I suppose it depends on what the job will entail, isn't it? So, yeah, I'm looking down the old...
definitely not air traffic controller.
No, that is not a good one. There's no cure, but a number of lifestyle changes and medications can help. Lifestyle changes include taking regular short naps and sleep hygiene. I've never heard the phrase sleep hygiene. So what the fuck is that?
I don't. I mean, I take regular naps, not by choice. I take naps when I try to just work through whatever I'm doing, and then suddenly I'll be tired. I won't literally just fall asleep like that, like they do in the movies. Although I do sometimes, but it'll be more like if I'm in a restaurant and I'm eating, I'll just stop here like this.
And fall asleep in your soup.
No, I won't fall asleep. I'll just stop here like that.
Wow.
Do you remember the movie Return to Oz?
Yes.
Do you remember TikTok?
Yes.
Army of Oz, the big round robot. Sometimes his action would wind down, and then his speaking would wind down, or his thinking would wind down. I always remember as a kid thinking that I was just like him, because sometimes my speaking will wind down, but my action carries on. It's like I'll carry on walking, but my brain will have stopped, or my thinking will have stopped.
So I'm looking.
So it's not sleep like you would know it. I don't lay down and go. I do lay down and go to sleep, but if I'm walking around a supermarket, I can literally just it's like someone's pulled blinds over my eyes, and I can still see and hear, but I'm on standby.
Okay, I'm really interested about what happens with dream states then, because obviously I've been a dream. What's the word for it? I hate to use the word expert, so I'm really interested.
Let me just explain another thing about narcolepsy. Partly the reason that we're always tired is because we don't get any non-REM sleep. Yes. A normal person will go into REM sleep, which is the stage of rapid eye movement where you're dreaming. And a normal person will go into that stage, I believe it's between 60 and 90 minutes.
I can drop it pretty quick.
REM sleep. I don't have any non-REM sleep. I dream. I sleep, therefore I dream. I dream straight away, and I can't switch it off.
That's the same here, because I'm aware that when I go to sleep, I can sometimes be woke a minute later, but I've had a dream. So I'm aware that I dream really quickly. I'm aware I drop into REM really quickly. So I was going to say with that. So do you have an experience where, or do you experience often, where you're dropping into sleep state where there's a bit of both? You're dreaming about the real world that you're currently in, or that you are taking dream aspects and putting them into the real world?
Absolutely, yeah. I think we mentioned this before. Like, if you fall asleep watching TV, it kind of
because
if you fall asleep watching TV, you think that you've watched an episode of something, but it happened differently for you. Yeah,
because you're taking the input, aren't you? You can hear it, you can feel it.
Yeah, but in your head, it kind of turns it into its own version. So you think you've watched this. I fell asleep watching The Sky at Night once, and I tell you that was probably the most exciting episode of The Sky at Night. Because it definitely didn't happen like that in real life.
You know what just occurred to me, right? So have you ever heard of what people talk about as the Mandela effect?
I've heard of this, but I completely
I don't want to forget this. I'm just going to write this up as a note very quickly. So basically, the Mandela effect is a current psychological perception that some people it's a perception rather than a fact. So the perception is that history has not gone the same way in history as it has for other people. Some people believe that Nelson Mandela who died in prison. Some people know that he left prison and became president of South Africa, which basically was the first time that people saw that there was two different memories that people have. But
people didn't think the Holocaust happened.
Well, it's not quite like that. But I guess you could probably use that as an example. So they have a direct memory of him dying in prison. They can remember seeing a news article, a story about it. And there's a particular story of a movie called Shazam that stars Shaq, the American basketball player Shaquille O'Neal, and some people believe that he played a genie in this movie, even though there was not a movie of this title ever made. However, some people remember this movie being on TV and at the cinema. So there is a perception belief that some people believe that history has changed over the course of the last 30 years or so, that we're on some kind of different path. It's somewhere between conspiracy and perception and bollocks. But what we just said there was really interesting, because if we have a dream where we're laying on the sofa and we can hear the TV, you did remember it in the way that it didn't happen.
It happened differently. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna write that as an article.
Yeah, maybe maybe these people just were dreaming and it happened differently. Like sometimes you have dreams and you think, did that happen, or
yeah,
and you wake up and you're like, I'm not sure if did that happen or not, and then maybe you'll recall it later on because it's a memory. It is a memory for you.
Yes.
It's a real memory, but it didn't happen in this waking world.
Exactly. Yes. So yeah, I can see how that all kind of now that makes sense now. So you did experience it in the way that you believed you experienced it, even though it wasn't actually true. But
lots of people are experiencing the same.
Yes. So then how many people fall asleep at the same time watching the news at 10 at night?
Well, then they all have exactly the same dream.
Yeah. Well, so the same input of information coming off the TV while they're half asleep.
What are the chances, though, that they all experience that same dream, though?
Well, so the same information is coming in, so it would have the same influence upon the person.
Oh, they're just all equally unimaginative, then.
Yeah. I don't say that. Is the news and 10 still on? But yeah. That's.
I don't know. I don't live in England anymore.
No, that's.
And I don't own a television.
I own a TV just to play games. So,
do you lucid dream?
Yes, and often.
Are you able to control your lucid dreams?
Yes.
Completely?
Not all the time. Sometimes I tend to let it kind of have its own flow.
Yeah.
Other times I'll be like, oh, let's go. Sometimes, I think the first time I noticed that I could do that, and I could recall that I was doing it, I would reset it would go back to a certain point, and the story would continue differently. So it was an outcome that didn't want.
You can change the ending of the movie. Alternative endings.
That I think was the very first time I was aware that you could go back and restart it. But then again, so it would have that a different output or a different outcome would happen. So that was the first kind of way that I knew that I could control a dream. And after that, it's become more so. Certainly before I'm about to wake up. So I would often, the way that I do it now, I set a soft alarm, which is, it'll only go off once. It'll be like nice and low, go for about 5-6 seconds. So it'll bring me out of my sleep level to a certain point, but I would still be kind of like, oh, to wake up. But then I'd know I'll just drift back off into dream state, and then I would have much more vivid dreams after that, where I'd have more control. And that's the kind of way that I do it. So how about yourself?
I think that I started to lucid dream as a result of my sleep paralysis, and my narcoleptics get something called hypnagogic or hypnopompic hallucinations, which happen just as you're going to sleep or just as you're waking up. And in a very similar, it's very similar to the kind of thing that happens during sleep paralysis, which is another symptom of narcolepsy, but other people get it as well. And so your dreams just are very realistic and difficult to distinguish from reality. And as a child, they would often be extremely vivid and either ghosts or just something very nightmarish. And they are across the board with every narcoleptic patient. For some reason, they're always very predatory. I do have a theory about why.
Do you want to allude to that? Because I guess with some people, they believe that there's something within the room. Then they feel that there's something on the bed. There's something within their chest.
There's like a legend, I guess. It's not. Is it a legend or a myth or maybe?
Perhaps it's a myth because it was experienced by people in the back in the day.
When they like, what's the witch that is called being ridden by a witch or something? which is quite an amusing term because that's just got far too many other connotations.
But it's like someone on your chest, isn't it? Pushing down.
Yeah, it's like being pinned down onto the bed and then you can't move, but you're experiencing some kind of horrible visuals and nightmares and things. that happened for me every single day, many times as a child. So I think that and I already had a vivid imagination anyway. So I think that it was too much for me, and I literally just had to be a director and say cut. And it was literally that. I actually pretended that I was in a movie and that I cut the movie. And then I realized that I could do it. I could change it. I didn't want it to be that way, and I wanted it to change. And that's how I learned how to lucid dream.
Yeah, I
didn't know it was lucid dreaming until years and years later.
No.
I didn't know what the word for it was, and it took me a long time to perfect certain elements of lucid dreaming. For many years, I would struggle with people's faces would look kind of fuzzy and not exactly like real life, and it would really frustrate me. I would be like trying to focus. I'd spend half a dream just trying to get someone's face right, and then eventually one moment please, sorry.
Sorry.
Eventually I would sorry, I'll start that again.
Okay. Deep breath. Start again.
Eventually, I got really good with people's faces, and that was fine. But the other thing that I couldn't do was when I was traveling in a dream, everything would go too fast. Like if I was walking in a dream, everything would rush by like as if I was on a train or something. And I don't know, I kind of wanted everything to be like realistic. So I wanted being on a train to be like being on a train.
Yeah.
Flying to be like flying.
And then you realise.
But I obviously managed to imagine it. So yeah.
Yeah, you do.
And then obviously you can fly fast or slow. So and walking to feel like walking. So I needed the scenery around me to go at the pace that it would in the real world, and it took me years to do that.
That's a really interesting breakdown.
Now I can do that. All of those things. It's just the little details that used to bother me.
That's a really interesting example, actually, of a way that you could learn that, and it's something I can equate to that really well. Is that you do see those things that don't make much sense, and you go, "Wait a minute," or you slow down in your dream, and and then you'll often replay the same sequence, but at the right speed, the way it should be, and then over time, that's how it always is.
Another part of it, though, is just I used to have to just accept that. Okay, I can't get that bit right, but I want to get on with the dream, so I need to move on to the next bit and just accept that dude's just going to look a bit fuzzy.
Or that guy's going to die, or that experience is going to happen, and that's part. And you do watch it as like you're watching a movie. You kind of have the experience. I mean, I don't know.
Not just watching a movie. You're
in the movie.
You're directing the movie. You're in the movie, and you're all of the characters.
Yes, you're all of the characters because
and you're watching it at the same time. So
yes,
it's like you're watching it from every single possible perspective, all at the same time.
Yes, absolutely.
And you can kind of zoom in and out. You can focus in on one character if you want to, or because there's no there's no limit to what the amount of the real world. I can only be me now, sat here, but in your dreams, I can be my cat there, and then someone watching from above, and then someone else over there, all at the same time.
Over the sofa, yeah.
Time is not linear in a dream either, so
no,
everything is kind of
wishy-washy. Timey-wimey.
I was doing a figure of 8, I guess, but there's no limits to there's no physics limit. There's no limits in terms of physics. Like it's whatever you can dream, you can. Whatever you can imagine, you can dream. Like it's not. There's no limit. There's no laws of physics in a dream at all.
No, there really isn't. I mean, the aspect of flying is really interesting. You can feel flight. You can feel the wind. You can feel the motion. The movement.
Why do I drive a car? I can drive an automatic car in my dream. I can't drive a car in real life. I can move things from miles away and make them come towards me. Like if I left my bag in the town, I could make it get up and I could make it levitate and then float miles across the land to where I was sat, which is an awesome thing to have in a dream. I like doing that one. And I can fly, I can be invisible, I can create new worlds, and yet I can drive an automatic car to the point where I'll be fiddling with the gears. Why do I want to drive if I can fly?
It depends on the context of the story that you're experiencing at the time, I guess.
Yes, that's true. Sometimes I have ones where it's like, this wouldn't be in a situation where I'd be flying, so...
No. I'm going to send a picture over to you in a minute. Just rolling back to a certain conversation we just had about the Mandela effect. I brought up some examples that I've got up on the screen right now. So some people believe, some people remember, that it was called Interview with the Vampire. However, now it's called Interview with...
I have read about...
And some people will now say it's Interview with the Vampire. It's Sex in the City as opposed to now Sex and the City. Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, apparently.
In the City, isn't it?
It is Sex in the City. Or sorry, it's now Sex and the City.
Why would it be Sex and the City? I mean, they're in the city.
No, that's what it's called. It's called Sex and the City now, for everyone. It's never been called Sex and the City. That's the perception of memory. So you like me, I can remember it being called Sex and the City. But now it's called Sex and the City, and it's always ever been called that.
Okay.
You see what I mean? There's all these little things like that are apparently why.
Think also, I mean, because I just think the other one's a crap name. I mean, you're in the city.
Yeah. Like Mirror, Mirror on the Wall is now called Magic Mirror on the Wall, and it's always ever been Magic Mirror on the Wall.
I'm sorry, but I disagree. I think that's probably an American thing.
Yeah, I think that's more localized, I think. Apparently in the movie Jaws, we are going to need a bigger boat is now you're going to need a bigger boat.
I know! What?
Life is like a box of chocolates is now life was a box of chocolates. But everyone...
Well, I know about that one, yeah. But that's in the context of that he was talking to her mum about... He's talking about his mum in a past... He's talking about the past.
Yes. So
Mum always said life was like a box of chocolates.
That's right, life was like a box of chocolates. Because is now a present tense.
Yes.
So yeah. So basically people appear to remember things slightly differently. Yes.
Yes. Interesting. And I suppose when we share the information about what we thought it was, then it just gets passed on, and then everyone remembers it like that.
And that's the way everyone remembers it, yeah. This is a tasty hamburger. I think Pulp Fiction is still one of my favourite movies. But yeah, it's crazy how people mix up memories. Or do we have a collective memory? Is there something kind of... Have we really gone through a different dimension? Probably not. I think the dream thing actually makes more sense.
Like I just said, I think it's more like Chinese whispers. If I quote something,
I might misquote
and you think, oh, that's a cool quote, then you're gonna remember how I said it.
Yeah.
Maybe you remember that I get someone gets it wrong, and that motherfucker keeps quoting it to everyone else, and then everyone remembers it how they said it.
Yes.
But yeah, when we watched it, we could go on YouTube and watch the quote for real, and yet we would still remember it the wrong way.
There's a particular moment like that.
Interesting though. Yeah, I like this. I like mass psychology is weird. Like that. I like to think that I could escape from certain mass psychological situations, but I'm pretty sure that I couldn't.
Yeah, I don't think we do a good job. I think we all find ourselves falling into these patterns, I think.
I know. Oh, so how do you think that you would do in the prison experiment?
Oh yeah, it depends on which one I'm playing, I guess.
Well, I mean, if you were an officer, I'm pretty sure I would be a psycho.
Yeah, I think as
I mean, I like to think that I would be lovely, but I know that I probably wouldn't.
I think that.
Then again, I might go against in my nature, I like to be contrary to everybody else. So if I see a load of people being arseholes, I'm likely to be the one that wants to free the prisoners. Like, I'd probably go the opposite way, and instead of being an arsehole, I'd actually probably like sneak in and free everyone in the middle of the night, and be the opposite extreme.
Yeah, I can see why people would want to do that as well. I guess it's to be the rage against.
Always try to be.
To rage against the machine.
To be contrary to everyone else.
It's a really interesting aspect of the story because you see it repeated as well. The whole point of the Big Brother TV show was to see if they could repeat that experiment with live people on TV. It's true.
And they picked the most... Oh dear.
Yeah, so I've always... So when you put a number of people in a very small space, how will they interact with each other?
They weren't given roles.
Oh, they were in season 3.
Were they?
Yeah, certain people had certain controls and they had privileges. You had to earn the privileges by doing some kind of task. And then you see that they're repeated through what's that show what everyone watches these days? I'm just something to get me out of here or something. Or when they go to some island in the South Pacific. Or
yeah, I mean, the only one I remember was the one with John Lydon crying in the forest or something.
So I couldn't.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it would have been more fun. What I would like to see is like people. A lot of people are probably going to get offended by this. But
be offensive.
I'm sorry that I'm offending you. You'll get over it. I would like to see is if you put a house full of people with like various issues, like kleptomaniac, sociopath, chuck in a narcoleptic just for fun. You know, people with certain really over the top issues, like kleptomaniac, a pyromaniac, a sociopath. That would raise the
and we think that it hasn't already happened. Yeah, the internet is a very creative place.
But maybe everyone already has elements of those things anyway. So
no, what I mean is, it's probably already happened.
Yeah.
And some like underground base in America or something.
Big Brother would be hilarious as well. But just throw in random things that would really fuck us up, like just just to see how you can mess with us.
What
if Takeshi's Castle, but narcolepsy style?
Fuck yes, Takeshi's Castle.
Last man standing.
Yes. So think about all the different scenarios you could create.
All of us of our meds, and then see who can manage to get to the end of it without collapsing.
So I would think, you know, if you had a Big Brother style environment where they do not have access to the outside sunlight, but then you kind of change their perception of what the day and night cycle is.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, just play around with the day and night cycle for some people.
That would definitely have an effect. And you would probably, it's definitely unethical.
No, it's fine. we do people do it in prisons all the time. It's part of the torture.
Bordering on the Stanford prison experiment there.
It's fine.
or possibly other similar. I think there's definitely an ethical issue with that. But then I think surely if you're doing any scientific experiment that requires you to be indoors for several hours at a time, you are going to be deprived of sunlight, right? They don't take you out so you can get sunlight.
No, I suppose you might be able to get around it with permissions, I guess, and people sign off on waivers for just an experiment.
I have this during the winter. Oh, I better hide the thing. Oh no, it hasn't got a thing. It's okay. There's no.
So what does it do?
This is a light box.
Okay.
And it convinces my brain that it's sunny.
But does it work?
Yes, it prevents me from going to emo during the winter. My ex used to get really sick of me, like going crazy and like crying, climbing into the bath with my clothes on and going, I want to just drown. No, because I get narcolepsy plus seasonal affective disorder is like having it times 100.
I was wondering what the effect of blue light has, because like
it convinces your brain that it does work. It stops me from being really depressed.
Because on phones now, I don't know if you've got a mobile phone. There's actually the option on this phone, for
type of blue light But
I don't know if you've seen this. This is my phone, and there's an option on here to toggle blue light.
it's not just blue light, though. It's not just blue light. It's
So I wonder what effect that has on the brain. I think it's maybe we're changing it, maybe perhaps. So yeah, I can turn the blue light filter on or off.
all right. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, you know how on a computer you have
RGB.
you can change it for you can change it at night time so that it will help you sleep better if you
Yeah.
have a different type of light.
Yes.
So yeah, of course, light does. And speaking from experience, light definitely does affect tiredness. Like if I'm in it, anyone would know this anyway. But I would say, you know, in restaurants how they have it dimly lit. A lot of people say it's so that they get you to leave quicker, so that they can get more customers in and out. But I always wondered why they did that in nightclubs, because it doesn't make as much sense. Cause
Well, yeah, well, then stay and buy more drinks.
yeah, I mean, you'd be better off with having light. For me, I need light. Light below the eyes will keep me more stimulated than light above my eyes, unless it's the sun.
I do reviews across the city of different restaurants and cafes and so on. So in my head, I can see quite a few examples of where restaurants use brighter and lesser lights. I think there tends to be in a family-orientated restaurant, they would want people to stay longer.
Yes.
And to buy you desserts and buy you starter and stuff. They want you to do the whole shebang. So they actually make it feel very comforting, as it
And
would
they
be.
don't feel like ushered out.
Yeah, so I think like the Hungry Horse restaurants are kind of like that. They want you to stay in these little booths where you feel nice and comfortable. It feels all warm and friendly. And there's a TV on the wall in case you feel terrible. You want to keep your kids occupied. Yeah, I think the idea is you want it wants to feel like home, so you keep spending more money.
Yeah.
But then you're right. There are ones that it looks a bit too prim, looks a bit too proper. Where you're like, well, I want to get out of here. You're distracted. What are you looking at? What's your thoughts?
I was zoning out into random thoughts.
Where did your random thoughts take you?
I was just, I don't know.
So if I was on a beach, take me with you. I need some bright sun.
I knew that. I was listening to you at the same time, but I was just like thinking about something. I was imagining something. I was thinking about restaurants, actually.
Okay. What did you see in your restaurant?
And then my brain started to just go somewhere, and I don't really know where it went to.
Okay.
I'm still here, though.
You're still here, that's good. So, where were we? I'm thinking about...
Lucid dreams.
Lucid dreams, so...
Okay, what's the craziest, most extreme thing that you've done in a lucid dream?
I'm not sure I can actively recall. I can certainly remember scenes that are almost like momentary memories. I got flash thoughts of various stuff going off in my head right now.
So do you remember your lucid dreams afterwards?
Not always, but then sometimes I remember them later. It could be even years down the line.
It's all
And I'm like,
there.
yes. I mean, just the other night I was having a dream and it kind of felt like I hate to use the word sequel. It kind of felt like a follow-on from a dream I had when I was suddenly in my mid-20s. And it felt like a lot of things were now resolved.
For this one, it's just come out now.
Yeah, and it feels like certain issues are now resolved. I'm like, so what triggered the memory of that dream to come back in the first place? So, but I know it's good when that happens. I think you kind of feel a moment of resolution, and then you wake up and it's like. Ooh.
I think that's what dreams are for. But they're like thought, but they're also like thought soup.
Yes.
It's like defragging.
It very well could be.
You're not supposed to kind of see what's going on inside there, which is why it often doesn't make sense. But when you are, if you become aware of it, you try to make sense of it.
So what do you think?
But I think it's like thought soup. But then if you become aware of your subconscious, you try to put it into order. And I don't think I don't think you're necessarily supposed to be aware of it, but I think it's a tool as well. If you can do that, you can I've create creatively, and also in terms of for me, it's been a tool for dealing with grief and things like that.
Yeah, I can see why it's a really good tool for that. I was wondering
like long before it even happened, sort of thing. I've prepared myself for situations that I knew were going to happen in my life.
Yeah, I think there's an expectation of likeliness, isn't there?
Certain people were ill, or my mum was ill, very ill for years and years, and we thought we were going to lose her over and over again. And then it took her 10 years to finally go, and then by the time she did, it was the book closed, and it was a relief because she wasn't suffering.
Yeah.
But it was worse before, not the day that she went. I mean, that was sad, but it was a book closed. So through dreams and things like that, I definitely prepared myself for those sort of things.
Yeah, I think I did too, actually. My mum was really ill for a long time, and I guess in many ways I probably dealt with the grief, what I expected to feel as grief already. So when it happened, it wasn't necessarily a relief, but it, like you say, it was a book closed, and I felt like, wow. I feel like, it feels like
that's done now, and then we can move on to that. But
I
mean, it's different for long-term illness because
you
have a long time. It was. I mean, it was 10 years, but then it was before that as well. Years and years she was ill. So, and when she lost her memory. From that point on, it was literally waiting for her to go because she no longer had much. She wasn't herself anymore, and she didn't want to be alive anyway.
It's kind of like if people talk about fears in their life, about like drowning or getting set on fire or whatever. I think my fear is actually losing my memory, or losing who I am. And I guess the very first episode I did of My Curious World actually was to talk to a neurological doctor from the US about the ways that we can keep our brain mentally stimulated. How do we keep ourselves creating new neurological pathways in our mind so our brain doesn't degrade? Because my grandparents or my grandmother, she went down the line of dementia, and it's like, how do I prevent that from happening? So it's like I changed my diet already before that. I don't use toothpaste. I use a fluoride-free toothpaste. My diet doesn't have things like aspartame, aspartame K. It doesn't take heavy metals in, and as such, my memory is better because of that. Because there's effects of what those things do to the brain.
I have narcolepsy, so my short-term memory is non-existent, and sometimes I'll even forget what I've just done. Like I'll take my medication, and then literally 10 seconds later, I'll turn around and go, did I just take my meds? Or like a minute later, and I just won't remember. There's no way to remember it, because someone will say, well, why don't you write down? I'm like, well, then I have to remember, and it just doesn't work like that. But my long-term memory is fantastic. It's visual and extremely visual. Like, I can remember what people were wearing, exactly what people said. It's like a recording of being somewhere. Like, I can go back to my childhood and be where I was at that time, like sat on a swing and remember what I was feeling. But like we said earlier, is this real, or am I making it up? Or, it's not a dream, but how have I got these memories? Maybe they are from photographs, maybe they are creative memories. Yeah,
creative memories happen all the time. We see something, we create a story or an elaborate story around it, and that becomes the memory. Or a friend has told us a story, then they told it in such a way that we remember it as ours.
But they're often little snippets, just tiny little snippets of things where I remember the whole setting around me, the people around me, and people I didn't know. I remember looking at this girl. I was she was like quite grungy, and I was only a little kid, and I remember thinking, I want to be her when I get older. And I think she was the inspiration for me being all quite grungy. But I never met her. I only walked behind her when we were in the Isle of Wight. We were in the Isle of Wight, and there was this girl, and I just thought she's cool as fuck. I want to be like her. And maybe she's what was the biggest inspiration for my personal
cool.
style.
That's cool. You can see
I don't even know who she was.
Maybe you should put an advert out there and go, look, I'm looking for the girl who was on this day, this place, at that time, and it wasn't you. Because I guess you obviously don't get the Metro newspaper over there, which is a free newspaper that goes out on the trams and the buses or whatever
the
gets handed.
Metro, yeah.
So,
I mean, I can view it online.
Yeah, there's an interesting little section, a page in there of like, we were just passing. It was like, I saw you over there, and tried to connect with you, or kind of like leaving messages with.
Is this like those those sections and papers at the back, like classifieds?
A bit like that, but they're kind of like you helped me, thank you very much. You picked up my bag.
Girl, I looked at you and you smiled.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, but sometimes like thank you messages. Dean at like the East Village train station.
Felt you up on the train.
Yeah, I'd see you again. Here's my number, kind of thing. Yeah, there's like a whole page, or more than a page actually, dedicated to those kind of back and forth messages.
Interesting.
Yes, I need to reconnect with you. Like you said, you touched my leg on the bus.
I think that if it didn't happen at the time, it probably wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, but sometimes you get that was a particular time, right? I helped a lady in the store that I worked at the time, and then I was on a checkout to help out because it was really busy. And she came through my checkout deliberately to talk to me. And we really, really connected in a back and forth conversation. Really, just a kind of like nice magic that connected between us. And then she gave me, I gave her my number because she asked for it. And then she rang me later that night, or someone rang me, and I could not find my fucking phone. I could hear it, I could not find it. And then when I eventually got the phone call, it was a missed call, but it went from an unknown number. And she obviously she never rang back. And it was her. I assume it must have been her. And I've never seen her again. And I always remember how wonderful that conversation was that we had, and how like kind of banterful and fun it was, and how I think life could have turned out very different for me had I managed to find that phone.
Is she out there now?
Quite possibly is. Quite possibly is. But then I think of how often that's happened to people. I could put that in an ad, but the thing is that's happened to 1,000 and more people every day. So I'll put never find that person.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we also seek certain interactions as well. Like,
we do.
There's a reason we choose not to interact with certain people, because we're probably looking for certain interactions rather than others. But yeah, there's lots of times when I meet someone that's fucking awesome, and I'm like, and I'm like, why haven't I known you all my life? And you get on really well, and you think that you're going to be best friends forever, and then basically that's it. That's the only day. You might stay in touch on Facebook, but that's it. It never happens. No. I met a girl at a festival last year who was like that. She was basically me, but I'd never met her, and everything about her was awesome. And I was like, oh, I wish I'd known you all my life. And we really got on really well. And we were into exactly the same films and movies and books. And we were like, cool. Oh, you like Terry Pratchett? I like Terry Pratchett. And I was, and so we stayed in contact on Facebook, but we really haven't reconnected. And I'm like, oh, we wanted to be like the bestest friends, but I don't know, it's just not meant to be, I guess. So
what happens? Is it because we don't know how to express and continue that conversation outside of the body language?
Outside of that moment, there's just not the, there's not the time or the inclination. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But I guess neither of us really bothered.
Because there's certainly a few people in my life that's been the case with that. I added them on Facebook and social media.
We just don't need each other.
No, at the time it was quite wonderful.
Yeah.
But then
it was, but maybe we just didn't need each other. So.
Or maybe she's thinking the same thing about you, going, I wish you'd have contacted me.
I mean, we did reconnect on Facebook, but it's happened a few times though, where I'm like, I'm definitely going to stay in touch with you. I'm definitely going to stay in touch. Then you add each other on Facebook, and that's the end of it. And you might say, hi, it was so nice to meet you, and that's it.
Do you think it's because we don't know how to express?
You can't be close to everyone. There's only really room for like three people to be really, really, really close with, and then a bunch of acquaintances. I'm not saying who those 3 people are. It could be any of you.
Any of you.
I have a lot of people that I really care about, though, and a lot of people that I'm close to.
So
I'm very, very lucky, but I also have a ridiculous amount of friends on Facebook, connections, because of the belly dance community.
Sure.
Actually, have connected with a lot of them, you know.
That's cool. I do think that when you have an interest, it brings you together. Whatever that interest is, whether it be, for me, it's whether it be filmmaking or the unexplained, or whether it be story making or gaming or any kind of thing together. But I often find I have circles, and there'll often be times when circles cross over with each other. The amount of friends that I have that are my sister's friends that she's met completely separate, and it's like, oh, I know you, I know you too. And
okay, it turned out. Recently, I met another narcoleptic. He is from. It turns out he had lived in Nottingham.
Okay.
Recently diagnosed, and he's the son of someone that lives here that I happen to know. And now he hadn't been diagnosed a few months back, and they came and asked me some questions about it, and I was like, I'm not a doctor, but yes, he very much sounds like he's got narcolepsy, and it turns out he has quite severely as well. So anyway, he's now here, and I met him for the first time. Turns out we used to live in Nottingham as well.
Could be something in the water.
Lived in Nottingham. He used to live in St Anne's, and then it turns out that that his parents and he also know what. One of my very good friends from years ago in Nottingham.
That's cool.
And these are people that I just met here in Spain. So we have a connection through narcolepsy, a connection through Nottingham, and a connection through one of my very good old friends.
Well, that's cool.
So it's a small world,
Yeah, well, they said it's a very small world. Also,
it's interesting to meet a narcoleptic that I've never really. I have met some, but they were all really old people, and I didn't have anything else in common with them. So
I was going to say, did you fall asleep together? We just happened to go to the restaurant, have a chat, and then both.
We drink beer.
That's good. Just fall asleep at the table together.
I mean, I did meet a few narcoleptics years ago, and I had nothing in common with two of them. But the older lady was cool. She was just drinking wine, and then she fell asleep, and she'd wake up and continue the conversation that we were talking about before, but we'd all moved on. So.
Man, imagine the person's memory.
From that now.
What do you think the perception is of that person? They just next thing you know, they come back and they're still talking. Everyone, it's like time travel. For them, they're jumping forward 10 minutes at a time in life.
That doesn't happen to me though. I can fall asleep in a car and listen to someone's conversation, and then I can just jump back into the conversation on the ball.
Yeah.
It's not like my ears don't. It's not my ears don't stop working. I'm still taking in information from around me. So I'll just interject in the middle of. Everyone will think I'm asleep, and then I'll suddenly wake up and go, no, that's not how it went.
Well, for the lady you were talking about, like the one who drinking the wine, when she would wake up, but her memory perception is that from the moment she dropped off.
Back there.
Man, it's like instant time travel.
The previous conversation. So I guess she went into she went to sleep and started dreaming, but
skipping through time.
Yes, I'm very. I'm a light sleeper though. Even though I dream, I'm a light sleeper.
I guess being aware of sleeping, you're kind of aware of your environment. Any kind of change, noise, motion, wow, what's that? That's different.
Yeah.
That's
any movement, and I'm awake straight away. I need to be in like some kind of contained environment in order to stay asleep. Like no sound, no light, no movement, and which is not going to happen when you've got two cats and a husband.
I would like to stay a night actually in a kind of like padded cell to see how it actually feels.
Sorry, say that again?
So I was going to say I wouldn't mind actually spending the night in like a cell or a padded cell, where
that can be arranged, buddy.
I'm sure it can. By going the negative way, but no, actually, like a kind of like an experiment. How will it feel, environmental-wise, to sleep in a space where all your sound has been absorbed by your environment?
Okay, have you seen that? Thank you.
What do you have,
honey? I need to borrow you for it. What was that room that on that video where there's like no sound in it or something? Okay, there's some. Okay, I'm just pausing so you can cut it. Right. In Sweden, there's some sort of room where you can go in and there's no.
I know what you mean. Yes.
Do you know? Yeah, there's no sound in it.
That's right. Yeah, so, is it the anechoic chamber or something?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Orpheal Labs, apparently.
In Minneapolis.
Yeah, in Minnesota, yeah. Orfield Laboratories, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be fine with that. Apparently, some people, it sends them a bit crazy.
Yeah.
But I think I would just instantly fall asleep. But I fell asleep in an MRI scan machine, you know.
So according to an article by the Huffington Post, somewhere I wouldn't trust it for their articles, however, it does say that no one's actually been able to stay in this room longer than 45 minutes, according to the Deacon Chronicle.
Okay, there was a guy on I watched a video on YouTube of some guy who went in for a while and he was fine. But
yeah, I actually think I would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would just be like putting ear plugs in, maybe.
I wonder if because you can't hear yourself, you know, if you talk.
You can hear yourself.
Oh, okay.
You can hear yourself, can't you? It's just that there's nothing for the sound because you could hear. I don't know. Can you hear yourself in your own head? I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder how that actually is. If you talk out loud, how does that sound? If it's just absorbed.
If you talk out loud and there's no sound, is there literally no sound at all?
No.
I don't.
I need to find out.
But I don't know. For me, no outside stimulation would just put me to sleep straight away. So.
In Nottingham, of course, we've got the Galleries of Justice that has the dark cell, as they call it, downstairs, where no one stays in because they're too scared. And I was like, fuck it,
I've been there. I went and locked myself in Al Capone's cell in Alcatraz.
Oh, really?
In the dark.
Well, yeah, Al Capone obviously got in trouble for tax evasion, wasn't it? Didn't get in trouble for anything he actually did. Yeah.
Not for his other antics.
No. So he was very active in very other ways. But yeah, it was only for tax evasion was what he got arrested for.
Got done for tax evasion? Yeah. I didn't realise that. I thought he got done for just being Al Capone.
Well, no, he technically got away with all that. He was in prison for tax evasion.
He got away with everything else and then got locked up for tax evasion. That's hilarious.
Yeah, crazy. I guess if there's any reason they could put you away...
That's a bit excessive, isn't it, for tax evasion?
I know.
Probably because of the other things as well, though. They just thought better off in there, right?
Yeah, we'll just keep them away from it. Otherwise, you'll be able to find a way to connect the outside world and still use the internet. No.
The internet in
1922
there at that time.
No, but actually, there's loads of stories about people these days. They can get anything into a prison, like they've dropped in by like drones and stuff, like phones and drugs and food.
Have you ever been there?
To Alcatraz, no.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I love it. I love dilapidated buildings and things.
It's that dark tourist in you. That's what it is.
I don't believe in ghosts. But I don't know. They do a night tour there, and I think that would be quite interesting. I think buildings. I don't believe in ghosts, but I think that buildings seem to have maybe a personality or something. I don't know.
Some people would believe that buildings take on the personality of the person who used to live there, and that somehow is connected then into the building's fabric itself. And what happens then is other people claim to be able to feel that from them.
When I moved into my house, when I found my house in Sherwood, we kept ending. I lived on Rufford Road in Sherwood, which is a cul-de-sac, and we were looking around for a house, just driving around and seeing what was for sale in the area. And we kept accidentally driving up this cul-de-sac, which is obviously a dead end. So, and there's this house at the end of it with a for sale sign, and we're like, I'm sure it's going to be out of our budget, but actually, we had a look at it and it turned out it was okay. Anyway, it was like it wanted us to live there, and then when I moved in, it just felt like it so wanted someone to live there, and it felt like a loving home. I've moved into places that just didn't feel like anything.
No.
That house had just such a nice feel about it.
Not good.
It wanted to be a home. I know that's just sounds like utter bullshit, but when I left, I even kissed the wall and said, "Oh, thank you. You've been such a good home."
You'll carry the vibes on to the next person.
I don't know. I don't know why some buildings just have a personality, and some
Some
don't.
people claim that everything has a personality. I don't know if you've seen the press over the last year.
I know people that don't have a personality.
Yeah, so, where I was going to go with it, I did a video like beginning of like last year of some woman who was she fell in love with a roller coaster and married it.
All
and then,
these people that fall in love with inanimate objects.
yeah, there was this particular woman. She fell in love with a train station and marries it, visits it every day, and has intimate times with it.
Any particular part of the train station, or just...
No, the whole train station itself. She also gender identifies as a female as well, so she's in a lesbian relationship with a train station.
Okay.
I know. Yeah, but these
You just understand it's not mutual, right?
I'm sure she does.
So she thinks it's not. Does she think it's reciprocal or not?
Apparently so. She believes that it accepts all her love.
Loves her back.
Apparently so.
What is this called?
I've got no idea. It's like
It has a name, obviously.
it does have a name. It's intimacy with an inanimate object, and there's this
People that fall in love with it. I mean,
like the Statue of Liberty
you know,
and stuff.
I can go, oh, I love these shoes, or I love my cat, or I love that piano, but I don't want to be married to the piano.
That's perhaps where people don't want to let go. They feel that they can get the love back.
Reminds me of Salad Fingers, where he goes, I want to marry all of you lovely taps.
Man, that was some fucked up shit.
I want to marry all of you gorgeous taps.
That was trippy show. That was.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it was.
I showed someone that once on a certain hallucinogen.
Man, that was trippy as fuck.
I would have been fine with it, but it probably wasn't the right thing to do.
I can imagine. There you are, just tripping balls to like watching some guy just creep his family out.
Because I'd already seen it, so I thought it was cool. But I mean, you know, from his perspective, it really wasn't.
What was the hallucinogen? I'm curious. What were you taking? Mushrooms or something?
Well, we were in Nottingham. We found 100 trips in the toilet, and it turned out my friend found 100 trips. Honestly, and it had the picture. The picture on them was
that was unicorn.
The Hoffman's bike.
Oh, really?
And it was for the anniversary of I believe when he discovered LSD. Okay. So it was a picture of the bicycle which he was riding home on, as legend goes, and so I was like, it's meant to be. You don't take them, so it's meant to be. I'm meant to have those because everything on acid is meant to be, and so I convinced her to let me have them, and then. I couldn't give them away. We all stopped doing that years ago. So I think I probably had a couple of them over a couple of weeks. But I literally couldn't even give them away. I was trying to give them out to some people and nobody wanted them. Because you have to commit.
Yes.
You have to commit like 12 hours to that shit, you know. I used to consider myself like...
I was going to say, when did you...
I used to consider myself like... a pro at that. I could take it anywhere and be fine and have a conversation, and you wouldn't know I was on it until I started doing this.
I was going to say, so when did you first want to try that? Like, you've got some LSD or tablets, whatever. Or MDMA.
First.
No.
So try it.
Yeah, was it straight away? Did you like do the whole cigarette straight into drugs thing, or how was it for you?
She says while she's rolling up a cigarette. Okay, well, I guess I started smoking. I smoked a cigarette because my dad was a heavy smoker, and I wanted to try it, and so I took some out of the ashtray, which is the most revolting way to do it. How could I have possibly ended up becoming a smoker by doing it that way? I mean, it's disgusting. And they were senior service as well, which are the ones with no filters.
Oh.
Old man cigarettes. I think they don't even make them anymore. So I went from cigarettes to cannabis and then straight to LSD pretty much. But I didn't like cannabis.
No. But you went to LSD. Fuck me, that's...
I kind of did it just all at once.
Okay. Like full on like...
I mean, it kind of... There wasn't like an escalation. It was just like... People offered me stuff, and then I was always very careful. I tended to... I only took uppers because it was pointless me taking downers, but...
So did you take them instead of antidepressants?
Sorry, excuse me?
Sorry, did you take those instead of antidepressants? Did you take like LSD and cannabis because of that?
No, I took them because I wanted to trip.
Okay. Because I guess the reasons why people do these things are quite different.
I wanted to spend 12 hours with my brain in doing acrobatics. You know, I wanted to go down the rabbit hole for 12 hours and
go down the line of Terence McKenna and all that.
I wanted to. Well, firstly, I wanted to see what it's like, and then when I found out what it was like, I wanted to try it again because I wanted to see if I could get good at it, and then I did get good at it, and then I thought it was a way of life.
So I haven't done like I want to go a bit. I choose the word. I want to go a bit further. I want to do DMT.
Are we talking ayahuasca?
Yeah, dimethyltryptamine. So I kind of would, because having like you and I, we have knowledge of our dream experiences. What if we were to have like DMT? Well, because we know how to control a dream. What will the dream sequence be like?
You see, I've always been terrified of the idea of DMT and things like that. But I've been reading up and watching a lot of things about ayahuasca, and basically I know that at some point that's going to happen in my life. I just don't know how. I keep ending up being in proximity to situations that are ayahuasca based,
okay.
But I haven't ended up in one yet, and I think I'm just going to allow it to happen to me at some point. My friend did recently ask me if I wanted to go to South America to do a retreat with shamans, and that's, you know, I mean when we used to do this crazy stuff as teenagers, there was no spirituality involved at all. It was.
No, I guess for the people who do it though, that's for them. It's a very spiritual thing. That's how they experienced it. But I guess the chemical itself, I guess, comes from the plant. So maybe it can be imported or exported. Maybe you can get it that way.
No, there are retreats in Spain as well, actually,
okay.
And Portugal.
Okay.
But I mean, if you're going to do it.
Yeah, might as well.
I just had this, but I had this horrible, like, I had this, like, idea of, like, me just waking up the next morning. This is my crazy imagination and possibly a potential film. So I'm copywriting it now.
Go for it. Copyright it.
This is my idea. If anyone makes this film, it was my idea. Maybe it's already made, actually.
That's what this
we all take ayahuasca, and it's like one of those retreats where it's all controlled and nice. But then the next morning or the next day, I sort of wake up and I can't find anyone, so I'm wandering around looking for everyone, and then basically I find out that everyone's been like brutally murdered in the night, and then I'm freaking out trying to figure out what's gone on, and then slowly my trip comes back, and it turns out that I massacred everyone in the night.
It could work. It could work.
I just have this awful. What would happen to me on ayahuasca? What if it turned out that I'm just a psycho killer and I just freaked out? Just don't let me near any knives. I'm not, though, but I mean, what happened? Imagine that.
Is it the worst case scenario? It could be that I might trip out.
Worst case scenario would be that.
So I wonder how many people actually have done that.
I'm copywriting that for anything. No one's making that movie without me.
If you get high as fuck, and the next thing you do, you wake up and everyone's dead, and then perhaps you then watch the movie in reverse.
Walking around the woods looking for people, and then you find evidence of like something horrible, and then you slowly start to get flashbacks of it, and then eventually, but it's not necessarily like you don't know where anyone is, but then eventually you. I mean, it sounds like a pretty cheesy horror film, which means it would work.
Well, it actually would probably work with like an amateur camera, like the Blair Witch style, where you
totally.
You're going out to the ayahuasca tribes or whatever. You do your shit.
You're on. I liked his movie that he did about when it was the Red State. Have you seen Red State?
I haven't seen that. No.
Oh, it's awesome. It's basically a horror movie, but it's quite funny as well.
I will.
I recommend that. Watch that.
Add it to my list of things to do.
It's great. It's a great movie.
Let's add it to my notes.
Who would I want to direct it? I don't know. Who would be the director?
Well, so the director's an interesting role, actually, having been a director and been a producer
I
myself.
want to direct it.
It's you're planning your shots, really, planning where everyone's going to be, and obviously organising what needs to be there at the time. For a producer, it just needs to be on set what happens. So, are you the person who organises all the food and the drink and the blankets? So it should be, if it's wet, you know, is there going to be a shelter there that you can, while you're not filming, so to speak. But in terms of that, you can plan each segment of that film, and then all the single shots that would be needed, then you just go out and film it. Or like, I was on a podcast like 2008 on White Noise Radio, and the two guests on that show at the time were the two people who produced the first Paranormal Activity, which had only just come out at the time. And how literally there was just three people involved. No one else. Just like this, there was the guy at whose house it was. There was his best mate and their girlfriend. The parents were away for the weekend and they filmed it.
Yeah, I don't think that films need to be as expensive as they are.
No, of course, if it's got all CG effects and people are flying around in Iron Man costumes, maybe a bit more. But
again, it's like if you've got skills.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think if you can tell a story with a single shot, you know, I think in Jaws, for instance.
I like old school special. If you're going to do special effects, you've got to go down like, you know, Evil Dead 2 route, really.
Yeah, I prefer physical, visceral things people can hold, see, and touch.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love effect. I appreciate effects, but I prefer the art of you know, special effects, makeup, and puppetry and things like that. You know, I'm a Farscape fan, so
Farscape was good. Talking of puppetry, I see that there's they're redoing Dark Crystal as a series for Netflix.
Oh, no, I'm not sure about that.
Yes.
It's Jim Henson's team, though, obviously, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. I think Jim Henson's Productions is now owned by Disney.
I'm just like, why?
I guess there's a lore to it. I guess that can be explored.
It's like, I know they recently remade
The Labyrinth is on the way again.
Suspiria. I know it was an Italian director, but I mean, which is the only way. But I'm just like, why? Stop remaking things. Make your own things.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Dark Crystal does have quite a little it's quite pretty. You know, the characters and stuff. The animation.
Awesome. I love Dark Crystal. And I suppose, yes, with the technology we have now, it could be.
I didn't realise it was not.
We're still going to be using Jim Henson puppets anyway. So I mean.
What I didn't realise it was 1982. Dark Crystal. Fuck, I thought it was like 85.
2 years old. Or it was, depending on the month, I might have been one.
Wow, that is crazy. Dark Crystal.
Which is why Labyrinth is more my era.
Yeah, likewise.
Plus David Bowie in tights. So.
Yeah, that's cool. Alright, so have you seen the stage production?
No.
The guy the kid who's the baby actually plays Jared.
Are you talking about Labyrinth?
Yes. He plays the baby who in the movie became the person who plays Jared in the stage production.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, they toured. They did a show in London. I didn't get to go, unfortunately. I was so fucking.
I don't think that movie could be made now because it's bordering on child abuse.
It is a little bit, isn't it? You know, just taking the baby.
Yeah, I don't think it would pass now. She's like a reckless sister who basically wants to offer her child to a goblin king. I don't think it would get past.
No, and I guess the Goblin King's like, just wait till sunset and that child is mine.
I know, it wouldn't.
You're going to turn into a goblin itself.
You have to do it now. Everything was acceptable in the 80s.
So when was Labyrinth? When did it come out? 86.
Yeah. So I was already a genius at that time.
Yeah, it's a great. Yeah, I guess.
First piano piece yet, though. I don't think.
I guess if they were to do a sequel, I guess it'd have to have the same kind of vibe of sound.
I don't know.
I don't really think you can recreate David Bowie's sound.
I'm sure they can with technology.
Oh, no, that's not what I mean. Is like that kind of like quirky, you know, almost like Willy Wonka style sound. You know, it's just kind of everything's so crazy. and wacky. I don't think anyone in terms of the music industry is like that anymore. They're kind of out there.
No.
Like, Ed Sheeran? Fuck off.
No, they'll only ever be one David Bowie. So.
Absolutely.
And nobody's really willing to push the boat out that far anymore.
No, everything's all crazy.
In this case, you've got people like Lady Gaga who are a bit like pushing that. I'm not a fan, but I appreciate her talent, but I'm not a fan. I mean,
you know what?
I don't know. I find it too obvious. You know, the antics that she does. I get it. It's shot value. But I mean, this is ages ago anyway. But as far as people, people trying to mess with the norm, I suppose Eminem and Marilyn Manson were always my two.
Yeah, maybe Marilyn Manson would always make a quite good Willy Wonka, I always thought.
Actually, he would, wouldn't he?
I know. I didn't even think he needed to act, just be himself. That kind of like...
She would make a fantastic Willy Wonka. Should remake that with Marilyn Manson, that would be awesome.
I only learned the other day, only 2 days ago, that there's actually a sequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory as a movie. That came out in 2013. I was like...
The glass
No, actually, it's a sequel to the movie itself. As opposed to the Roald Dahl story. And it's called, like, it's like some train. It's got Ed Harris in it. It's Ed Harris as the child, Charlie, who's now grown up. And it's got Woody Harrelson in it. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's called...
Woody Harrelson.
It's like something called like Shinedown or something. And it's a really abstract kind of movie set aboard a train that is now the only place that produces food in the world.
What's it called?
It's like Shinedown or something like that. The band. It's like a two name word. I know. I just saw this like YouTube video about it. A guy talking about it. I'm like, fuck me, I didn't know that.
This is Snowpiercer.
That's the one.
I'd had nothing. This is supposed to be a sequel to.
Yeah.
I've seen this movie and I didn't know that it was supposed to have anything to do with that.
I think it's more the director and the producer's intention that it is a pseudo sequel.
Okay.
As in
it's quite a weird movie, actually. It's interesting.
Yeah, as in all the characters. Apparently, all the grown-up characters are the character representations of the other people who got the golden tickets, and.
I'm gonna have to watch that again.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, so it was.
It's not a very original concept, actually, because it's like, you know, the people at the back are the people at the bottom. I thought it was just a representation of like society.
Apparently,
like, I thought it's almost like what's it called, the thingy games, I know.
The thingy games. The Hunger Games.
The Hunger Games, you know, as in like there's the people in terms of you've got your
the cast
people at that end, and then the people at that end that trying to. I mean, that's been done time and time again.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't know that had anything.
Yes, apparently watch it again now. So apparently the Oompa Loompas aren't in it, but there's a reference to the dwarves who used to make the food, and now they don't, and that's why there's a lack of food in the world.
Right.
There's all these like really abstract messages and random stuff in there, but apparently the producer and the director are directly inspired by that. And Ed Harris's character is Charlie, who's now grown up and grown old, and now wants to pass the business on just like it was to Charlie in the first place. And I was sat there going, "What the fuck?" So, but yeah, apparently so.
Okay. Right. Oh, I've got to rewatch that with some fresh eyes then.
Yeah, me too. I saw the characters and I'm going, yeah, I can see that. I know why that is. Yeah, okay. I says maybe you have to watch one then the other, perhaps.
I just can't see it though.
I guess that the directors do that, don't they?
You mean the original one?
Yeah, as in the one that had Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a sequel to Charlie; it's a sequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Because they did some stuff in that movie that wasn't in the book and so on. So.
Yeah. I mean, I was always a fan of the books, personally.
Yeah,
but I did love the film. I grew up with the film, but I know that Roald Dahl didn't like it.
He hated it. He hated it with a passion.
I know, but I liked it because I was a little kid.
But the amount of fucking spectacular colours and craziness shit going on
right. It was
psychedelic as fuck.
Dark.
Yeah, it was dark. because people died. People died in very heinous ways.
I like dark. I always like dark films, even as a kid.
Yeah, I like ones that actually kind of like challenge the cerebral.
You know, I'm always attracted to darker things, like, so that's why I like visiting dilapidated buildings and things like that.
Yeah, so I'll get out of my own dark tourism in the next few weeks. I've got some.
Tourism, yeah. There are. I visited some places in Malaysia that I didn't get to go to. There's one in Malaysia that's supposed to be really haunted or something. It's a mansion. I personally like to live in it, but it needs a lot of work. But over there, they're very superstitious.
Yeah, they're superstitious, right?
Believe in ghosts and things. Particularly if somebody's died in the property, it means that the property will be. Nobody wants to live there, which I'm like, oh, I'll move in if it's going cheap.
And I guess
you can live in a mansion for nothing. But I don't believe in any of those things, though. But I'm more interested in the history of a building and what happened there, and kind of that aspect of it. You know, I like the story. I like the story that a building has to tell, and sometimes you might not know what that story is, and you have to imagine it. That's why I love going into old buildings and then thinking, I wonder what this was. I wonder who lived here, and you know.
So I just want to say, I recently went to Clifton Hall, which has lots and lots of 14 and kind of strange, weird, creepy stories to tell. But I actually went to the area around it, and I had a lot of people contact me, going, "Have you been here? Did you go here? Did you check this out?" And I'm like, "Fuck no, I missed all that shit." So I'm now going to go back to the same area and record all the stuff around there, and just kind of get all these like kind of myths, and legends, and stories from this one place.
I don't believe I've been to that place. I'm just now.
Yeah, so I actually was involved. Well, sort of. There was the former owner, his guy Ramwar Rashid. He bought it in 2012 for like $2.5 million. It used to be a school. Before that, it was a mansion owned by the Clifton family. He then claimed that it was haunted. There was like blood raining down the stairs. There's a whole cinema inside that he claimed.
I think you've been watching The Shining.
Yeah, quite possibly the case. Anyway, so he vacated the building, so the bank took it back, and then obviously touted his story. So in the time that happened, before the story went to national press, they had actually contacted me and another group called the Ashfield Paranormal Association to go and have a look. So I got to go and have a look around there before all that story broke out in the press in 2012, and I wrote an article about it on my website.
I'm seeing this now on. I'm reading. I'm with you. Okay, go on.
Yeah, so the Ashfield Paranormal Association, they said that it's the most terrifying building they've ever been in. They were all scared and stuff, and they feel there's a dark presence. And I'm like, no, it's just an old house, man. There's nothing scary here. It's just a really big old house that has a nice, really interesting it's a painting in the hallway of a man sat on a horse that appears to have a child's leg. That creeps people out. So it used to be a school beforehand. I managed to speak to a former stable hand there who claimed that the stables were being used for demonic rituals, after she came to work one day and found all this straw had been brushed to one side of the floor, and a horse had been cut, and blood had been poured in the shape of a pentagram on the floor, and she found candles there. I've also heard that people used to meet in robes in the woods. In the areas that are nearby, there's a place called Clifton Grove, which was used for ritualistic purposes, as well as being it's like a 2.5-mile corridor that goes from Clifton all the way to the city centre.
Is this true though? And what ritualistic purposes?
It didn't say. So other than this stable hand telling me,
everyone always jumps to like Satanism. It might just be some kind of like pagan.
Well, it could well be, because in Newark, not a couple of months before that, I'd had someone contact me in regards to they were finding their horses had cuts put on them, and that they then had a daisy chain, or like flowers that are chained together, then put over the horse or in its bridle as if it was like a gift. So they were assuming that someone was taking blood from the horses and then using it and then thanking the horse for it. Very bizarre. Yeah, actually, it was the police who contacted me about that. Oh no, sorry, I found that story in the press. No, I contacted them. That was it.
Are you aware of any rituals and that are like that, and what are they associated with?
I don't know, but perhaps it's a nature blessing. You're taking something from the earth and giving it back to it.
Well, yeah, that's what it seems like. I'm not
does.
sure if the horse would have appreciated it.
Exactly, yeah, the horse has lost the fucking blood. The horse didn't appreciate it, I'm sure.
The horse wants to be cut, but I don't have an issue with the rest of it, but I don't think that.
So what was the other story? There was another lady who was a student at the school. She told me in the 70s, when she was a student there, that there was a certain room that no one could go in. But then again, as children, why would you be able to?
In 101.
Oh, could well be. Yeah, she said that there was like ghost stories and stuff that was happening up there. People heard noises and people would scream up there. Maybe it was a sodomizing teacher. I don't know. So you kind of have to do these things with it, and that's a pinch of salt. But I said the area around it has a lot more history. So when I was looking at the history of Clifton Grove for the new story I put together, because I'm kind of making 3 films at the moment. So one is about Peter Pan, and basically in how it connects to Nottingham, and in terms of J.M. Barrie. So I needed to go to Clifton Grove, because Clifton Grove itself is where J.M. Barrie and one of his fellow friends had walked from Clifton Hall to the city centre, and had found a boy in under a tree. And that's actually when J.M. Barrie said that the line of that boy over there doesn't have a shadow, and that apparently led to him writing Peter Pan and being inspired by this young urchin homeless boy. So I went to the area particularly to film that. So when I was there, I was like, oh, look at all this shit that's going off around here. So Clifton Grove has a mystery where it may have been a mermaid, it may have been a dolphin, or a sturgeon perhaps, swam up the Trent, came to the inlet to Clifton Hall.
Yeah, I saw that.
So while that happened there, apparently that's an omen that the owner would die within a period of time. I can only find a reference to that as a myth. I couldn't find anyone who actually said they saw it there. So I think it perhaps is one of those things that a fisherman saw it, oh my god, he died 2 weeks later, shit, I'll associate it together. And then perhaps down the line the same thing happened again. So in the video that I made, I need to reshoot and re-edit that, because I don't say that it could be a perception of a angler's point of view. Although that land at the time didn't have an angler's path, that was just a very overgrown area. Also, there's a place there called Devil's Arse. Now I don't actually know how that got its name, or what it's about.
Have you managed to ask people in the area?
Yes, I managed to. A contact through Pagan Pride Network actually got in contact with me, and they had. They say it's a sheer drop where people used to be thrown off back in the day, and as such, the where people would be thrown off is now worn away. So they kind of so I hate you with a hill. It's like a flat drop, and then kind of like it indents 2 sides. It looks like someone's arse there. I stood there without realising whatever it was. I took some pictures over that. There's some trees and so on. But I didn't know that at the time. There's also an old ice house there that I passed because I couldn't go into the Clifton Hall grounds itself or go to the hall. This particular time I didn't really want to. It's all secured off and gated away. So I went into the right hand side, which is like a nature reserve, to get down to the river, which was my intention, and to go to the grove. But when I was in there, I found an ice house. It's like a domed building that's got some graffiti wrote on it and stuff. One
of those really old sort of refrigeration things.
Well, not really. It's mostly. I don't understand why they use the word ice house. It's like an ancient freezer, a chiller, effectively.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They would store food in there.
Yeah, they would. Yes, they keep it cold because it's in the earth and so on. It's like a brick building, 2 metal shutters on it, and they said that used to be an escape route, hidden path out of the hall itself. And I'm going, well, actually, there's a fucking massive drop of about 50 feet between this room where I am here and that hall over there. But before this angler's path was cut, perhaps this was a route that could have happened. So there's lots of little myths in a very, very small area. The thing is, it's in completely the other side of the city. So it's a bit of a pain in the ass to get to, unfortunately. But yeah, I'll go down and do some more filming around there, talk to some of the local people, and see what they have to say. There's a guy called Frank Earp who runs the Nottingham Hidden History Society. He's like in his 80s. He's a We've been communicating quite a few times on a few different projects, but trying to nail them down to get a meeting together between me, him, his son, and his little group is just a nightmare. They go, oh, let's get something together. You try and organise, and it never happens. So it's not good.
I can just imagine the devil's arse being like one of those stories that you tell your kids at night, like, you know, you better be good or we'll throw you down devil's arse.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. But I think that's how stories develop like that, isn't it? Because when you throw like Christian superstition upon things, where you know it's a dark place, there's no lights, it's well off the main road. You have to go through a very, very small village.
Your brain's gonna go a certain way.
Yeah,
anyway,
of course.
Always. Yeah. And then you go down the pub and you pass on your story about, oh yeah, I was walking down the road, I swear I saw something. And then someone else goes, oh yeah, I did as well. And it's like, no, you're all just drunken old people that have just been walking down these places late at night. And
yeah, so Sylvia's uncle, he told me a story from the same area where he was leaving Clifton Grove, having been fishing, and then he came up and there was a lady that spoke to him at a fence at a cottage. She was chatting with him, talking to him, and then when he reached the end of the road, he turned around to wave goodbye, and the cottage and him the lady he was talking to was gone.
The whole cottage?
The whole cottage and the lady had disappeared. Now, so I've been to that very area where there is only one path in and out of Clifton Grove as such. In that whole area, there's only one road in and out. So I'm well aware of where he came in. I must have been. And I was looking at the cottages that are there, and like they are quite a far back from the road. And where I was stood going back out towards now what is Clifton University, Clifton campus, you can look back and see the fact that the bushes do kind of cover the houses. You literally wouldn't see them as if it was one whole continuous hedge.
Yeah.
And I was like, I see what happened.
See what happened there.
Yeah. That's how he was stood looking at the end of this road and going, they've all disappeared because the way the hedges all line up together, it looks like the hedge is going outwards. You couldn't see it. But it's quite interesting to see that actually going, oh, I see what must have happened to how he thought it disappeared. But had he had a few bevies down there while he was doing his angling.
Well, there's a few places in Spain that I would like to visit. There's an old football stadium. There's an old.
So, the abandoned.
Sorry, and what do you call them? Amusement park or something like that.
Okay, so it's like an abandoned one.
There's a lot, and there's entire villages in Spain. You know.
Oh really? What are these like? Are they abandoned?
Villages.
Wow,
abandoned
really?
villages, and there's an abandoned power station.
Ooh.
Which they're currently still doing this Halloween tour where you know those sort of games where basically they scare the crap out of you and then you have to figure your way out of the place and.
All right, escape room stuff, yeah.
Yes, it's like an escape room, but it's at an old power station.
That's really fucking cool.
If it's still on.
That's cool.
Yeah, I want to work at one of those places.
Set one up.
That'd be awesome.
That's fucking like. I think there's like 9 escape room locations in Nottingham now.
Is there?
Yeah,
I've never been in one. I really want to go in one, but I really want to work at one.
Perhaps just to own one and start your own business.
Totally like cut out for that.
Dude, you tell me that
training.
There's abandoned villages. I'm sure you can organise tours through these abandoned towns. That sounds like something's right up your street. Get some permission off the parish.
I really would like to go to one of the escape rooms as well, but I don't want the supernatural one. I just want, sort of brutal torture or something.
Brutal torture.
Just something really just because I'm not going to be easily scared.
No, I guess some of the.
I'm like, oh, I know what you're doing there. Oh, I see what you're doing there.
I think some of them are puzzles. It's like an environmental puzzle, really, isn't it? So you got to do this to get this.
It's like extreme Crystal Maze.
It is, yeah. I've seen one that's like about themed around hacking, or one that's actually based in the caves underground. Yeah, I think I guess when you give the environment, it's pretty powerful. So.
How would you like one that's based on Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something?
I did see one that was based in like an abattoir.
Oh wow!
With a guy running around with some chainsaw or some shit.
Awesome.
Which is, I don't know where that one was. That's what a colleague told me at work. So I guess that is one of them.
I've seen some in America that are pretty brutal. Like they are full on.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and my husband are really tempted to go to the Witcher thing. This is not supernatural based, but this is more like activities.
Okay.
You're aware of the Witcher game, right?
Have you not fucking seen this over here?
Oh yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah, we want to go to Witcher school.
I've seen that. Yeah, that sounds cool.
But it's like €500 each or something. But yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I do love the soundtrack of that game. Like, have you had an opportunity to buy the new one, Thronebreaker? That's out now.
No.
Oh, it's free.
Well, I don't know. My husband's playing one at the moment, but we got rid of our old PlayStation, so no.
Now, Witcher 3 was incredible, absolutely incredible. In every way possible, I love the game. But no, so Thronebreaker is a story about Gwent, but it is a top-down experience where you can go and explore a city and a town. It has all the Witcher story, all the original voices and stuff. But the idea is now you are competitively playing Gwent through a story. So
okay.
it's almost like an add-on to the game of Gwent, but actually it's now become its own walk-around story, like the Witcher 3.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was just thinking, like, having it more like one of those escape rooms, but set in sort of like a Witcher type thing.
It can be cool.
I wouldn't want to escape, not with him around.
So, are you aware of the series that's coming?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm going to be open-minded about it.
Yeah, when I saw Henry Cavill cast, and I was a bit like,
No, my husband's not happy about that either.
I don't think he's old enough. But then again, I realised that actually they're canonologically setting it. They're setting it between the books where he got to the age of 50, and still it's kind of young, to where he is in the Witcher games, where he's like 70. So there's a period of time between them where the original author is allowing them to have free reign and create the story.
I think we'll have to just wait and see. And so I'm going to be open-minded about it. But he's not. Wouldn't have. I mean, who would have you chosen?
That was a very good. I don't actually know who would have been really good. I really think there's an actor called David Hayter. I think he would have done a real good job. The very first time I heard Geralt's voice in game, I went, "Fuck, that's David Hayter," but it wasn't. He does sound a lot like him. I was like, I can see what. Okay, he's been an actor. He's been a film producer for years. So I thought that he might go for it. It wasn't tall enough. But I didn't want a Hollywood actor to play him because it's more likely that they just want as much money as
they could have gone. There's so many people they could have gone for, and particularly someone from Europe, like. Well,
yeah. I mean, the thing is, though, Henry Cavill's English, so I can let it off.
Yeah, I know he's English. Yeah, but that's not Europe anymore.
No. Guess not. Not after fucking March. Now, what the fuck's going to happen here after that point?
I'm hoping to try to apply for a Polish passport or something.
I think I'm going to head myself to Poland or Hungary. But
I have Polish grandparents, so
okay.
I'm hopefully going to try to get a Polish passport so I can stay European.
Yeah, because some shit is good.
I'd like to retain my free movement and the ability for my husband to be here with me.
Okay. But I think it's in Finland.
I am European.
Yeah, I think it's in Finland. You can pay like €500.
You know, I think we need to get over all of this. And what we need is an alien invasion.
It would help.
And we'll probably realize we're all in the same boat.
Well, if you saw the National Geographic website today, you would see that they're actually calling for nuclear war in which to solve the problem.
What? I mean,
it's like, you fucking what?
If climate change doesn't get us within the next decade, what it is doing, and it'll be nuclear war, or you never know, some aliens might come and surprise us, and we're like, oh, we thought it was going to be nuclear war. Yeah. Humans. Glad I'm not one.
What about the guy who played Aragorn in Lord of the Rings?
I would say yes to him for absolutely anything, to be honest.
He never acted before that or after that.
It's delicious. And a very good actor. He
Yeah.
would have been great, actually. Definitely.
Because
Yeah.
that was his first acting job,
Very-
he did.
Yeah, he can do the. He would have been good for that, I think.
Yeah.
But then I guess I don't know. I guess people already sort of attach him to Aragon.
Yeah. There was. Did you ever watch the independent Lord of the Rings movies? There's about 4 of them.
Ooh, which ones?
There's one called Born of Hope, which is the story of what happens between Aragorn.
The answer is no, but I will do.
It's free. It's available to watch on YouTube. It's really, really high quality. It's Aragorn and what's his name? The wizard.
The other ones.
The wizard. What's the fuck his name?
The wizard. What, Gandalf?
Gandalf. Yeah. It's the meeting that they have. It happens in the movie, but you don't see it directly. You see that Gandalf goes off. It's before he gets to meet Aragorn and tells Aragorn to meet the hobbits at Bree. What happens in that moment there? It's quite interesting. Actually, it's really well filmed. And there's a feature-length movie called Born of Hope, which is about Aragorn's father and how his mother, how they came together. And that's actually
the same actors.
no, that comes out of the Silmarillion. So obviously that's much older. So you see Aragorn as a baby, maybe. But yeah, that's a really good film. Actually, I really enjoyed that. I think that came out in 2010. I think it was. Born of Hope did.
I will check those out.
Yeah. I think like Hunt for Gollum, I think, is about 25 minutes long. And I'm sure there's been a couple of others independent movies, but they got licensing from Peter Jackson to use his version of Gollum's look and the music. So yeah, definitely worth looking at. Really good.
So no copyright infringement there, then?
No, all copyright allowed. So, well, copyrights were given permission-wise, I guess.
Everyone has permission to use anything of me.
Really?
Music, face, whatever. I don't give a shit. I'm going to, like I say, I like to be contrary to everything. So
you're going to be Creative Commons Beatrice.
Yeah, I am Creative Commons Beatrice.
Can come a whole selling point. That's one of the whole section.
I am Creative Commons Beatrice. You can use any of my music, but then you probably have to ask me for it because I don't even know where it is online anymore.
I still think that. I think as long as credit is given in.
Yes, that's what I mean. Credit should be given, and that's all you need. I mean, other than that, what's the problem?
Well, I guess when it's like a business that people take money out of, I guess. If you're an actor, you made a movie, and then all of a sudden everyone else is copying your movie. Maybe.
There's a difference between copying and then just using something in the context of something else.
Yeah, cause when you look at, say, games like such as The Witcher, games such as Skyrim, whatever, the reason they became popular to the point they did is because people were allowed to mod them and add to the game, and then the developers were like, "Shit, we like this, add more."
I have a violence mod on Sims which allows me to kill people. I can shoot, stab, strangle.
You strangle your Sims. That would make me feel so good.
Chainsaw. Yeah, and so all my characters, I built the H.H. Holmes castle, and all my characters are based on different serial killers. So I've got Fred West, I've got Ted Bundy, of course, Richard Ramirez, and
Joseph
the fat
Fritzl.
clown. What's the fat Gacy? Wayne Gacy. And I think I also had I needed a female one as well. So I had, what's her name? The young little girl. I've forgotten her name.
Well, the young serial killer.
Yeah. Anyway, so I get through a hell of a lot of
NPCs.
Butlers. Every time I kill one, another one pops up.
That's cool, though. It's twisted. I get it.
I have this cellar underneath. I've got 2 houses. I've got the H.H. Holmes castle, which is a replica of the castle.
Yes.
And then I've got one that I built where basically I'll trap people in certain parts of the house, and and then yeah.
I only ever played The Sims 1, and I was playing with my friend Kevin's house because I lived there at the time. And like you, it's like, okay, so what can we make the game do what it's not
What can
supposed
we
to do.
Can we kill them? Can we starve them? That's what I mean. That when I remember playing Fairground as a kid, the one with the fairground on it, and basically trapping everyone on one ride.
Yeah, it's like how do you play the game beyond the bounds of what the game intended to be played as? I can
And
always,
now I can.
yeah, so
Now I can. And then it was so funny though because one of the characters was such an asshole. I think it was BTK. BTK was being such an asshole. The Grim Reaper punched him in the face because he was so sick of him taking his job, and then also Richard Ramirez beat the shit out of him because they got sick of him just killing all these people, and I wasn't even in control of that. It was really funny.
oh man, just
Because I didn't make that happen. But H.H. Holmes took his own life at the end, which was great. Like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I filmed a lot of this, but and then I have an underground area where I keep all these urns, and I brought everyone back as a ghost as well, including myself because I'm dating the Grim Reaper. So
excellent. I wanted to. I had an idea for a TV series actually. I say a pilot really, and the aim was to have what happens if the Grim Reaper's powers end up in the hands of someone who's normal. So it's very Shaun of the Dead-esque style. So and this scene I filmed it sort of with some friends, where the Grim Reaper is intended to come around the house to collect the soul of someone, and he gets to the door. However, at the door, the guy who's just about to open the door trips up, falls over. So the Grim Reaper, trips over, falls on the floor, and then the person who's supposed to die actually touches him and goes, "Are you all right, mate?" And then somehow the powers transfer because now the Grim Reaper is the Grim Reaper is dead, and he's like a guy who's supposed to die. He's like depressive, whatever. And now then it becomes like a kind of morbid kind of black comedy where it turns out
he's accidentally killing people.
Yeah, so he's a bit like, what the fuck? He doesn't know that he has. So he walks past flowers.
I like that idea.
He walks past.
Almost, that there's a series where I can't remember I can't remember what it's called. It's where basically she's turning into a zombie.
Oh, iZombie, yeah.
She's turning into a zombie, and it's set in normal like family situation, and her family are trying to cover it up and
yes,
trying to hide it and trying to act normal, but she keeps eating people and stuff. So
no, it's not the one.
Embarrassing them.
So I was thinking of iZombie. That's something different.
Yeah, I think that's on Netflix as well. I can't remember what it's called, but that one's quite funny.
That sounds quite cool.
You can imagine it being in that kind of feel to it, comedy, black comedy.
So I can't. The second part would be how this character progression would be. In fact, there's an entire like Grim Reaper agency who has to collect the souls every day. They have a quota of how many souls they're going to collect. There's kind of an overworked like office where they have to, but they're so understaffed and undermanned and they have not enough money. They're having to use like a Mondeo as opposed to their carriage and stuff. And
so Netflix, if you're watching, this is a copyrighted idea, by the way, it's something is copywritten the minute that you come up with the idea.
As long as you have it written down, it has to be.
It's on video.
I suppose it is. There's proof that it was done ahead of time. So
and I would like to have a role in it.
Oh, so it's like an office where he has to be taught how to be the Grim Reaper effectively. So he's.
Did they actually hire him?
Well, obviously he's got the powers of death, so he kind of takes over and has to become a member of the death
so he
team.
Actually ends up having to be hired. Yeah. And what happens to the other death? What happens to the other Reaper then? He's dead. He's dead. Is he gone?
He's dead. Yeah. He's dead. Gone. That's it.
Died?
So, yes. So everyone kind of has like a kind of black suit on, so they kind of like it's like a modern contemporary look of the Grim Reaper. So they kind of have to wear like black suits. So that way you can set it now. Really, you can buy the sets the equipment kind of cheaply. But yeah, it's set in a simple office in town where there's stacks of paperwork and the souls they're going to collect.
What about if he didn't die, but he just ends up being normal and he just wants his job back? But he's
maybe that could be
like a hobo or something, and he's battling with his own issues, trying to be,
Well, because a lot of TV shows work on the premise that the first episode really is, as the viewer, you have to follow someone who's new into the show, and that's your kind of window into experiencing the world as such. So the idea is that you.
I'm just thinking maybe like there could be a later subplot
of course,
about the Reaper, and he's not actually
Yeah,
dead.
so he wakes up and
Maybe
realizes.
he's a homeless dude, and it's just a subplot. It wouldn't have to be much, but
Well, it could be
he's just some homeless dude.
It
And
could be
this other guy is like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you homeless." Like,
I don't mean to. So he trips over, falls on some glass, or hits his head on the concrete doorstep, and then dies. And obviously, he still had the powers have transferred. Don't know how, but then. But like you said, then,
doesn't matter. It's fantasy.
yeah. So the Grim Reaper wakes up a few days later, going, "The fuck." Just hold my job back. Well, you don't work here anymore. You're dead.
Me and my friend Jess came up with this really stupid idea for. It was really like a band and a movie at the same time,
Okay.
and it was really bad. It's not. It was bad but hilarious. It was basically the Grim Reaper comes for a Catholic schoolgirl and a nurse, and then they end up instead of killing them, they end up being turned into zombies because he's bored of his job and he wants to rebel. So he decides, I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to kill them. I'm going to half kill them, and he chooses them because they represent like saving life and stuff.
Okay.
One of them believes in God, and the other one saves lives. So he wants to off them, but instead of doing that, he's like, right, I'm going to punish you both and turn you into zombies instead. But then they rebel and end up forming a band, and there's like a
Wild
zombie
Stallions,
band.
yeah.
So we wrote loads of songs that were about zombies and stuff. It was quite funny.
Oh, that's cool.
I wrote a love song called "I Fuck the Reaper."
Is that what she did in your mind?
Yeah, that happens.
I'll have to hear the song. Well.
Yeah.
It was
inspired by.
That's quite cool.
We were watching Wild Zero and then Bikini Girls with some, I don't know, machine guns or something, and so then we were like, oh, that's so tacky and brilliant. Oh, so that's how we came up with it. And
well, that's quite cool. So I guess one of those things that potentially can still take off at some point.
It was more like it was a movie that had the idea of it being a band with a movie, like Wild Zero, the Japanese band.
I was still thinking of like Bill and Ted. I don't know.
But no, I like your idea. That's a wicked idea. I can visualize it.
Well, so I think it's a very British thing, you know, very Shaun of the Dead in an office, the police station, or at the Grim Reaper station, whatever it's called, and obviously they're tasked with like trying to collect all the souls of people, and he has to come in and do the job, and he has no idea how to do it, so he's kind of taking in and showing the ropes, and then there's I never knew what the story end would be like, so it just kind of the premise is just there, right? So yeah,
you need extra writers to fill it out.
You
but
do,
I like the premise.
I think it's a funny, quirky thing to pull off straight away, and I got two friends who work as PCSOs. They were like, "Yeah, we'll help film that. We'll get involved with you and help you do the police scene." We could organise it. Let's get it. Then we could share some camera footage and get some stuff together. Maybe we could edit it together.
Awesome.
That's some ideas in there. Look, I've just seen the time of our chat today. It's 2 hours.
Oh gosh, yeah. I have to be somewhere at 2 hours. We both have a thing, don't we? You've got a thing, and I've got a thing.
I have a thing at 3:30. Yeah, I'm also going to have some breakfast too as well. I can eat some breakfast yet.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Look, I think this has been a lot more fun. Actually, it's been cool. We went to explore so many more conversation. This was perhaps what first one should have been like, but hey, this is cool. So, anytime. And I'll let you know if I manage to get around any of those abandoned buildings. Maybe I'll do some filming for you. And that'd be pretty awesome actually, because I've got to go some places like over the next few days where I'm going to be recording and taking some footage. So yeah, just show me what you've got.
Maybe I can be your off-site reporter. I'll send you some footage, and you can go. This is Beatrice in Spain reporting on some random abandoned house station.
Fuck it, do it. Let's do it.
She disappeared. We haven't heard from her since, but this is the found footage.
And then that could work, that sells to people. People bought the Blair Witch Project. That was terrible.
They did.
I don't know why, because that film was just terrible. Nothing really happened, but that was the whole point. Nothing happened.
I liked it when it first came out.
I thought the premise was really interesting. But then so many people have done other things with it.
I liked the fact that everyone in the cinema queue thought it was real, or they weren't sure if it was real or not, and I was like, I know it's not.
Well, that was one of those, what do they call it, actual reality game.
No, they fucked with them though, didn't they? They kind of put them out in the woods and started scaring the shit out of the actors, which I liked.
Yeah, ARG stuff. Yeah, because there was like blogs that came up beforehand of the actors that were going to go out there and what they were going to do, but they weren't even found till weeks after the movie had already got to come out. People were like, shit, there's these, were they real people? We don't know. But no, it was all.
Yeah, no, I like the way they did it. It was good.
That was cool.
But, yeah, the end bit with the.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a sequel like last year.
There was a sequel a while back.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll let you get on with your thing and thing.
You enjoy your thing. Play with your thing. All right, Don. You take care, and I shall see you soon. Right?
Bye.
Ciao, ciao. See you soon. Bye, bye. Thank you very much for taking the time out to join me here today. I really do appreciate it. But if I could just ask one more thing of you, you could just press like, dislike, leave a comment, or press subscribe. You could do any on all of those things, and it allows me to know whether I'm producing the kind of content that you want to listen to. I do produce a variety of content, especially on YouTube and out into the world of social media. So please, if you would, thank you very much. I'm Kristian Lander. Until next time.